for October 16th, 2024. Motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Coggins, second by Mr. Moore. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion possible motion, interviews and response to the AERFQ for architectural engineering service for the Rusk County Highway Storage Garage. And I believe our first candidate is Barrientos.
Can you guys hear us? Okay, hang on one second. I can't hear you. Do you mind saying something again? Okay, try one more time.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now we got you. All right, you guys go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. How much time do we have here? 20 minutes, is that right?
Yep.
Well, we'll just go right ahead then. Well, we just first of all want to thank you guys for the opportunity here to kind of go over our proposal that we submitted for the Rusk County Highway Storage Garage. We are Barrientos Design Consulting. We are located in Milwaukee, and we're proposing to partner with Ayers Associates for this project. All right, so our project team, I'm just gonna go over this really quickly here. Norman Barrientos is our partner in charge. He unfortunately couldn't be here. He's traveling on business right now. But myself up here in the corner, and then my colleague Josh Cook are going to be on the project as well, or would be on the project as well. And then we are proposing to partner with Ayers. We were going to have Gareth here. He unfortunately had a medical episode earlier this week, so we couldn't get him to come on and talk about Ayers. But we'll kind of fill you in about their role going through this here. So we're proposing Barrientos Design Consulting, you know, the typical kind of project setup. The architecture firm, we're the prime architect, and Ayers Associates is underneath us. So we'll be doing a lot of the programming, planning, construction documents, taking it through design, BIM assistance, construction administration, really facilitating that effort. And then Ayers will be providing civil, structural, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, fire protection, and they'll be under us. So that's kind of how we see the roles and the responsibilities sort of split up here between our team. And I just want to go into a little bit of our design expertise. You may or may not have heard about us, but we've been around since 1980. Norman has, I'd say, owned the firm probably since the past 25 years. And in that time, we have done over 120 garage, we'll call it fleet-related projects. And so these facilities will range anywhere from, say, just a fleet repair operation, just highway and street operations, vehicle storage, building maintenance, truck wash, public transit. So anything that's kind of related to that fleet, we are do have an expertise in. And we've done work all throughout the state of Wisconsin, or even sort of branching into some other markets now beyond that. So we're very familiar with Highway Department, Department of Public Work needs generally in the area.
I can take a little bit to talk about Ayers on behalf of Garrett. Now, they were founded in 1959 with 350 plus employees and 11 offices nationwide. For this project, I think majority of their staff would primarily work out of their Eau Claire office, which is their headquarters. They have a wide variety of engineering services, from site civil, facility planning, construction engineering, landscape, survey, environmental, and most importantly, as we'll kind of get onto this throughout this presentation, we've done a handful of projects with Ayers, and we've really enjoyed working with them, and we think all of the projects have ended up becoming really successful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the project approach. So as you guys know, the intent of this project is to provide programming and master plan for the Highway Department campus, while also additionally developing a set of construction plans for the 24,000 square foot storage garage and additional wash bay. This would be located at your guys' current site in Ladysmith, Wisconsin. And the proposed storage facility will include proper heated parking for vehicles and equipment, including plows, pickup trucks, excavators, and an additional vehicle wash bay, which will be designed with our design standards, what we've learned through our other O&M facilities that we've produced. I'll briefly go through our design process. This is split into 4 tasks. So starting off with the preliminary design, we want to build and edit the previously completed studies to solidify the program and square footage. In addition to that, as I spoke a little bit previously, we want to also work with the master plan, and we want to make sure that the staff and key stakeholders are able to work with us, and we can determine, beyond this project, where do you guys want to see this site and ultimately your facility going. We also want to, in this section, schedule and outline major key milestones and task due dates. We want to describe key building zones and lay out key site items. We want to develop a preliminary cost estimate so that as we work through these tasks, we can help to stay on track with the county's budget. And then we would present this preliminary design to the ad hoc construction committee for approval to move on to design development. Design development will advance the concept to develop a more detailed image of what the building and site will look like. Through doing this, we'll define interior and exterior spaces. We'll start to create preliminary architectural plans, elevation site plans, in addition to preliminary site civil, structural, and then MEPs. Bulk of the work of this contract will mostly be in construction documents. The construction documents will create a complete set of plans, finalize cost estimates, and fully complete the project for local and state public bidding and permitting. All the design items will be detailed, connection completed. As stated earlier, we'll continue to work with staff throughout these tasks and really determine how we can make this site fit for your facility and fleet's specific needs. Once the construction documents are finalized, cost estimates will be solidified. Value engineering can occur at this point if it is necessary. And then the Barrientos team will dedicate time to assist potential bidders throughout the bidding process and answering questions. And then finally, as this project moves into construction administration, we understand how important it is to make this transition from drawings to construction, and which is why as construction begins, the Barrientos and AIRS team will dedicate time to review all submittals, RFIs, bulletins, change orders, and shop drawings, and the consultant will work directly with the client and chosen contractor to make this project as successful as possible.
All right, so I'm just going to go over some project examples here that sort of demonstrate our partnership with AIRS, but also sort of demonstrate our expertise in these types of facilities. So one that is sort of similar is the La Crosse County Highway Facility. This is with a kind of like a satellite shop for their operations over there. $429,000, 28,000 square foot facilities you see there. This one had a different approach, I'd say, than many of our other shops. They introduced a pre-engineered metal building into it. And sometimes this is pursued to try to save some cost. So we can sometimes, incorporate pre-engineered metal buildings into, say, maybe a partial precast structure, say on the base, to try to save some cost groups there. Now, you may recognize this one, small armory conversion in Ladysmith that we did, just converting that to a different use in bulk storage. And then a large facility, a few large facilities here. A larger one in Calumet County, a maintenance facility. This one kind of has it all. This is probably a good example of where a lot of these shops seem to be headed in terms of standards. Almost entirely precast facility, of course, minus the admin and crew area, which is usually maybe a CMU backup. Many different functions: repair, vehicle storage, truck wash, brine making, that sort of thing. This one was also done with AIRS as well. And then And then here's some more projects that you can see that we've done with AIRS. Polk County Highway Garage, that was a pretty big one. Pepin as well. Smaller county, but the facility was decent size. And then the rest on there, Vernon County, Jackson County, we've completed together with, I think, good success. And so there you have it. That's our team. That's what we're proposing, Barrientos and Ayers Associates. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and just sort of explain our proposal to you guys. And if you have any questions, please let us know.
Anybody have any questions now for him?
Yeah, I'm curious, how much, I'm seeing here that it appears to, that your design cost, I'm assuming, or whatever, are $406,900?
Oh, yeah, first of all, is this an open public meeting?
No.
Okay, so
Yes.
we're,
Yes,
Oh,
it
yes,
is.
it is, but there's-
Yes, it is.
It's being teed.
I'm sorry?
It's open.
It's open.
Oh, it is open?
Yes.
Yes.
We really prefer to talk about the cost in a more private venue, if you understand, just given the nature of it being open. We could certainly answer any questions you guys have.
Excluding that one, Tom, do you have any other ones?
So my other one was about money as well.
All right, well, we've got no other questions. We appreciate your time and your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
All right, thanks you guys.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Why do you think money would be a secret with that?
Unfortunately, it's not. All of the proposals are public record, and if someone asks for them, we have to give them. So unfortunately, that number is not a secret.
It's kinda like if your business, Tom, you have a secret, you want to let everybody else know.
You ready? Yeah.
Or-
Nice, I see.
Yeah.
If you were in business and you had a secret, do you want everyone else to know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're competing against nine.
Am I here? Am I-
Good to see you.
You're competing against 9 other people.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, how's everybody tonight?
Good.
You're ahead of schedule, kind of shocked.
I guarantee you, we're
This only the second one.
Jennifer, you wanna handle the?
Yep, that was, keep my jacket on.
You want us at the microphone or sit here, or what would you prefer?
That's, should be able to hear you from there.
I don't want you guys behind me, so. Do you guys have a list of hard-hitting questions, or how do you want us to go about it?
Take it away, Kurt.
Well, let's start with introductions of our team here.
I'm Jennifer Schomer, I'm the design manager, and I'm an interior designer is my background.
I'm Henry Kropp, I'm an architect at Samuels Group.
So we've given you guys a handout here just to show you some of the rest of the team. There's also several consultants that are in our proposal that I didn't bring up here because we only had 20 minutes to present, and I knew we would be consuming most of the time with just introductions. So I know you asked us to talk about our approach, to talk about our fee. I guess knowing where we are and why you're doing the RFP is really the way we formulated our approach in regards to how we were gonna go about designing the project. So you would see that our design team would come in here and really the first step we would do is take you on tours of a couple of highway shops to get some feedback and see elements in regards to how other highway shops are operating and functioning. And then we would come back and really finalize that program. So we've done some preliminary concepts. I know Justin has been able to see that, you guys have been able to see that, with a focus on just the garage, right? But we would also, in our proposal, we have the hours associated to be able to do a full floor plan for the balance of the building, but not construction documents. So you would actually see the balance of the building for the repair in the office, as well as the garage, with the availability for expansion in regards to how that would lay out, and then finalizing where that garage would go, and putting the construction documents together is really the key component. And I think one of the things that I just wanted to show you guys that may differ from the approach of others is that the way that we plan to put this together would be a spec section that has this broken down into bid packages. The reason that I encourage the bid package piece is because it brings in more local involvement. And what that local involvement is if you make those packages smaller, you'll have local contractors that can then bid to you directly to the county. So we would start to see the local painters, the local excavators, you name it, in regards to how that bid package would go. So as you go through here, you'll see how these would be defined. A lot of the times what we find out from the owner is who are some of your local contractors, what are their expertise. We can tailor some of those bid categories so that you encourage that. Otherwise, if you just see one big approach where the GC comes in and bids it, you don't know what the involvement is of those local contractors. So it's similar to what I had proposed for what we would do with your jail. The other approach with that is because we are attempting to scale back the jail, right? And we're attempting to blend a phase one in here for about the same money that we were talking about with the jail. I think if we can run these bid categories or bid them out pretty close in regards to timing, you're going to see more competitive bidding. And when we did this at Washera County, we did their government center about the same time or right after we did the highway shop. So the highway shop was bid, we saw contractors that were there, those contractors that were on that site, which is just across town, they were very competitive and drove that competitive bidding there. So I would encourage that again in regards to the approach of how we would go about taking that. So Henry has put together a couple of photos here, if you wanna look on the page where all the pretty photos are of our staff. He's put some photos in there, and that's really what we did at Washera. And I know that we explained to you guys that our recommendation would be to go with a precast structure, obviously for the longevity. I think one of the things that I've learned about your county is that it's a no-frills county, meaning that you don't want to stick undue money into the project, but that if you're gonna build something, it's gonna be here for the long haul. If I look at how long your highway shop has been here, you're gonna make a decision here right now that the reality is this shop will probably be used 70 years from now. And you wanna make sure that you're putting a structure up there that's gonna last and stand the test of time. So there is a reason why you would wanna invest in the structure and how you would go about it. The budget that I gave you guys in regards to the scope that's tied back into this is consistent with that, being a precast structure. And obviously this configuration that would be here, and then with that wash bay that is partially automated, that would be the wash bay included with that for those budgets that are in there. So, you wanna explain to them a little bit what they're seeing on those pictures, Henry? I think the vehicle garage specifically about the layout and the carts, the wings, the plows, what's done into some of that would be part of this layout, so.
Yeah, so the large photo down on the bottom there, that's kind of looking straight down the main drive in their first bay of the garage there. With you got trench drains running down the middle, so all the snow and everything that's melting off the trucks has got somewhere to go. The stalls themselves are arranged in kind of a one-way traffic type flow, so all the trucks, when we're looking at site logistics, come from one direction. And the stalls, we for this particular project, we kind of looked at 3 different modules, basically large vehicles, mid-sized vehicles, and then smaller vehicles. We laid out the stalls based on what their county's inventory was. With that concept that we showed you guys, kind of went about the same approach, you know, taking an inventory of what you've got and working it that way. So those stalls are sized so that you can have the truck with the wings on them and the plow blade on the end. And you can disassemble and detach that plow blade, leave it there, and back the truck out so you're not leaving those out in the yard anymore, so that you get more longevity out of them. On the kind of the middle left picture, that's standing right in the center of the overall garage space. So on, for your guys' garage, we're talking about 24,000 square feet, so it's half of that. That column line would be something that we kind of propose for yours, and then down the road when you add on to the garage, then that piece of precast gets relocated so that we're not wasting it, and you could have a very similar look there, so that you can see right through it. There's a lot of extra space to lay down kind of temporary tools and things that the drivers need. Another feature that we incorporated into this particular one, skylights, so that there's more natural light deep in the space compared to just having windows at the ends, something to evaluate down the road. So those are kind of the key elements, I would say, of the vehicle garage there. The other photos, repair shop, there went with 3 just pull-in spaces, 2 that were drive-through spaces, and then a number of smaller spaces for sheriff's department, ambulances. It sounds like you guys do kind of a similar maintenance type program there, so it's good to have space for 2-post, 4-post lifts, things of that nature. Work with you on what kind of crane configuration you might need. Do you need a in-floor scissors lift? Do you not really see the need for it? All kinds of things. There's a lot of decisions to make there. And we would help guide you through that, look at some other examples. Wash bay, the one that we did there was a semi-automated wash bay. So when the drivers pull up, they had a button, a key fob in the trucks that they could push for the underbar spray to wash the underside of the truck. But then once you get into there, then it's manual with reels on each side to wash it. You can fit 2 vehicles in there at one time. And then the third view is kind of just a conceptual aerial view there, just kind of giving you an idea of how that one laid out massing wise. The largest square, that's the garage, twice as big as kind of what you're looking for this first phase, but that's generally the scale of it down the road. And then the taller piece being repaired because need larger areas there for when the dumps lift up as they're being worked on.
So the thing about the conceptual view that I think is important, if you go back to the second page, if you flip the page here, we won't go through each line item here, you can read it on your own. But one of the key pieces that came out of your RFP process that we allocated time for, and if you look at our schedule that's in there, is a wetland delineation, okay? We would never propose that you're gonna build in that space, but what happens is because of our storm water management process that needs to be addressed because we're gonna be disturbing more than an acre, we do need to go through and have that wetland delineation completed so that we can identify what do we get to do with your stormwater management. And the stormwater management piece and your utility components in regards to how you package this and put this together, it has to be with a long-range plan that in 8 to 10 years, you're gonna come back and add the repair bay and you're going to add the office. So your infrastructure in the utilities will come from the street to be able to provide you what you need for water, sanitary, and then the same thing with your stormwater management is that we would lay that out so that you are then continuing to add on to that space. You're not having to uproot and redo that infrastructure, so you're ready to go with your addition in 8 to 10 years. Henry's kind of laid out some preliminary locations, and I think these, I don't want to go into too much assumptions there, but you can see the configuration that would be there. You would see the layout that's on this conceptual view would then be placed on this site, okay?
Based on your square footages and everything. Yeah.
Along with the floor plan of what is going to be added on. So I think the component that's most important here is how do we keep you operational? And we talked about that when we met with you guys originally, is where do we place this building? You're gonna have to give up something, right? So that would be part of Justin or your committee or whoever is going to say which building are we going to give up first, And then where do we build that, and how are we going to build the next phase on there and still keep you in operation? You gotta keep that in mind. So the placement of where this building is going to be, and we know that, you guys know the reason why we're actually looking at the garage itself, but I do think there's another component about storage of what you're doing with your files, right? Some of those things may need to be brought up to the forefront of what has to be done sooner than later. And I think also the element of giving you a conceptual view, this view right here is one thing to give you an aerial, but then let's give you a view from the street as to what does this look like when you're done with this entire campus in 10 years. Because you want the street view that's there, and what does that look like with the rest of the building? Because you don't want the front of your highway shop to be an old salt shed and a bunch of old buildings. So how are we gonna give you the street view that you need in 8 to 10 years? And that's where this is gonna be important. Even though you're not building it all right now, you need to plan for that, so then when the board takes action on that in 8 to 10 years from now, they're ready to go, okay? So all of that would be laid out in, the approach that's tied back into that. There's things that you've already invested in. We know that you've stuck a fair amount of money in that fuel island, so we wouldn't wanna revisit moving all those things, so, that's kind of a summary of where we are. My fee and how we've approached that, I've approached that with an estimated number of hours for us to get through all of what we just talked about, right? That's finalizing a floor plan for the balance of the building outside of the garage. It's getting construction documents for the garage so that it can be competitively bid, and then the oversight of being able to get that work done. I do think that if there's some of that, some of the elements that are pulled out of that, like if we say, we don't have to go through and do a full floor plan, but we wanna do some blocking, we could reduce the hours in there, which would in turn reduce our fee. If you said that, hey, we don't want to explore, because there was a question about exploring multiple sites, if you say, hey, we don't need to explore multiple sites, we can see a reduction on that. So when I gave you the hours, that's really a cap, a not to exceed, and there are no reimbursables outside of that, so it's all inclusive in regards to the fee that's there. Did I keep it under 20 minutes? Any questions? Anybody got any questions? You guys are easy.
I think it's a lot to absorb.
Yeah, you guys have a busy night tonight.
We do. We got a little bit ahead of us.
Right? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you very much for coming.
You guys.
I don't. Are you guys with ADCI?
Nope.
Is anyone from ADCI on virtual? I mean, we are running 10 minutes ahead of time. Oh, yeah, I don't remember. There's so many. Okay. We'll have to wait because they were scheduled for 3:40. Yep.
she is, Sherry's babysitting. She had day 2 today. Finally turned it on. With the 2-year-old. She got home right before I came. She said it didn't go so well today. It's kind of a new thing right now. I've heard the other process. Yeah, too cold. Very busy work.
That's where my old boss lives.
Allen Sound.
Yeah.
She's a pretty nice girl. And a lot of her just like me.
Hmm. Hi, whoever just joined as guest, if you could please give your name, and if you're from ADCI, you're up if you wanna start presenting. Yeah, I figured. No, that was someone, well, cause that was someone logging in when I shouldn't be logging in. I tell ya. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay, state your name for the minutes, please. Because everyone who is scheduled to present was sent an invitation directly to their email, and I have them in the like approved list, if you will, so.
Sure.
Got the down trucks already sold, snow. Already rolled? Yeah. Keep it, you want sandy a little
Well,
bit.
for precast.
Do you keep the?
Well, alternator went out. Glad it was him, I said did. Like I say, we had her back on the
That
road.
whole thing is $500.
Feed them till like February, March, or finish them.
Brother was into it and have a big.
Oh.
18 inch.
So you've got some that are gonna be already shortly. You've got how many groups do you have? How many groups?
Yeah, that's great.
How many in a group? Just. Okay.
You guys run grader and rock truck over, normally just truck crews.
Depends on the snow.
So you know, you guys.
Big down, big bolt. That's what.
Probably have it all.
Well, how old is that one? Not enough time on it?
Well, it's not so bad, it's just rusted and there's some major things that happened to it.
Hmm.
Had to be repaired, just got it repaired again.
If you wanna keep it
You're
at
right.
40, but remember, we went up a little bit with our net new construction.
You guys buy through or you?
So our
We can find anything,
capacity went up a little
you
bit.
can't find anything.
Okay.
I
It
know,
was
I
like a
really don't
stainless
know.
steel, so it's not gonna rust.
I'm just telling you that you could go higher, yes, yes.
Have a plastic pipe put in it,
Justin needs that as our capacity.
sand and slide a little bit.
Are you from ADCI by chance?
I am not.
We're not, okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead. It's vacation.
we have people here that present, could we have them present while we wait? Or
What, I'm sorry, John?
we have people here that are ready to present, can we have them present while we wait?
Well, if we do that and these guys charm in at 3:40 on their time frame, then what do we do?
They could have been done probably by then, cause the other ones have been like 10 minutes.
To follow the time frame, it is what it is.
They're ready to go. That's fun. Yeah, it sounds like gold. He's gotta be right there. He loves his kids.
That's okay.
He loves track. Big trucks. He's got an engine. He's all about it. He said he just camped out on their deck here. What was after was when stuff after.
Anyone here from River Valley?
They're all like.
You guys are up.
Do we wanna
We're
wait
just
till
gonna- we'll move these
3:40?
guys around.
All right,
You guys are ready for
we can jump up, yeah.
We're ready, yeah, we'll just get going, and, well, first of all, I would like to thank the board for giving us this opportunity to submit on this RFP, and, we're very excited to be submitting on this project, RVA has been in business since 2008, we're in Eau Claire, so it was an hour and 10 minutes for us to get here, and, this type of project is, like I said, is very important to RVA, so we wanted to make sure that we came here in person. We know we had 15 minutes to speak, but we wanted just to introduce our team to you, and we thought it was important to be here in person. One thing about our firm is we're a strong believer in coming to job sites, having the meetings face to face. If we need to do some virtual meetings, we'll do virtual meetings, but we really want to build that lasting impact that we have as one of our core values, and we feel it's important for us to, be present and be there to help guide you through the design process. Some of our other core values is solid design and real partnership, and we truly believe in that. We produce high level, strong documentation. We'll engage the team, the highway board, the county board, and the building committee to make sure that everybody's involved, and we're presenting our designs and getting the proper feedback, and we feel that builds these real partnerships. We'd say for RVA, 90% of our projects that we bring on are repeat clients. So we want to make sure that we're providing that solid design, building that lasting impact, and we hope that our clients will reach out to us again for architecture and engineering services. So it's a little bit about our company. We're about 30 staff members, so we definitely have the bandwidth for this type of a project. We have multiple market sectors in our firm, and one of them being that is our industrial, municipal, and what we would call our electrical and telecommunication co-ops. So those type of buildings are very similar to this type of building that we'd be proposing here. You've kind of heard it from the other firms. Feel like the structural steel frame precast building, it makes the most sense. But one thing we do is we talk about different building types to make sure that we're at least giving you the advice and guidance and the pros and cons of these different building types, and some of it could be cost, some of it could be durability and longevity, but we really want to just kind of help educate you through that process. Our team, is a very important. So River Valley Architects, we're an architectural firm and an interior design firm. Outside of that, we would bring on the right partners that could provide the mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and the fire protection design if needed. Our recommendation would be we would be working with a firm called Salas O'Brien. They're out of Eau Claire, so we can have those meetings face-to-face with them is their design meetings, but they also would be attending the meetings when we have meetings with the team up here. And then JSD, they're out of Wausau, so another fairly local firm. They're probably about an hour and a half. We work with JSD quite a bit, and they would be our site, civil, and topo team. So their recent project they just finished was the Marshfield Clinic Replacement Hospital. So they're very familiar with the area. Being right on the river there was a lot of additional requirements that they needed to follow. So they're familiar with the county's requirements. And so Justin, he's actually on the call here, if you wanted to do maybe a quick introduction about JSD and his team, I'll let him speak for a few minutes and then we'll get back into our proposal.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. With JSD, as noted, we have multiple offices through the state, but this project will be served by the local office in Wausau. We are surveyors, civil engineers, landscape architects, structural engineers. As Aaron mentioned, we just recently completed, here in the last few years, the Marshfield Clinic Memorial Lady Smith Center. That was a large project, as city and county staff are aware. Very complex project with the site, from a site perspective of grading and permitting and stormwater management, all items that will be very important for your site, and also the kind of future expansion of your site from multiple build scenarios and an environmental component from stormwater and state and local permitting. So the community is near and dear. We have staff from Lady Smith at our firm. Obviously, the project that we had provided for the clinic site, we have a vested interest in the community, and feel we're very fortunate and close enough to serve. So thank you for the time here today, and I'll turn it back over to Aaron at River Valley.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. So like one big important thing was just making sure we provided the right team. We knew Justin did the project here at the Marshfield Replacement Hospital. Our plumbing mechanical engineering team, they're a large outfit, a large engineering firm out of Eau Claire. They have offices throughout the United States, but they have the expertise. And so we wanted to make sure that we're providing the right team that's gonna, be able to design you that building, but also designing that building that's gonna last, be a lasting impact for you. It's gonna last for the years that you need it to be here, but also talk about that future side of it too. So, one thing that was talked just a little bit earlier was, as we get through that initial gathering, which we call it, in the architectural world, we have our schematic design or design development construction documents, bidding, awarding, and, at the end, the construction administration. But schematic design is, we're gathering that information, we're asking the questions. How many vehicles do you have? What does your future, growth look like? What are future vehicles in a 5-10 year process? And, making sure we're designing your building that's gonna work now, but also design that building for future expansion, if it needs to get larger, or any other additions that would happen on that site. So we really look at it as, a site master planning at the beginning. The building's one thing, but the site is very important. We're replacing the building, making sure that in the future you have opportunity for growth, and we're not tearing out things that, or tearing out portions of buildings or other buildings, so we can give you that opportunity to grow. So we're gathering a lot of information. That is where we're doing the programming, coming up with our conceptual designs, talking about the building types and construction types, and helping educate you through that design process. And then, of course, doing some preliminary budgeting through that schematic design. So if we have to if we can give a little bit more to the project, or if we have to pull the project back, it's important through all these design phases that we have a construction budget in mind as we go through that. Design development on this project would be a little bit of a shorter time period. That's really where we're just kind of fine tuning the information, talking through the mechanical systems, making sure our room needs are met. And, now we're starting to talk about the interior environment, and from lighting to heating to, any plumbing needs and so on. So that's where we really gather a lot of information, still a lot of involvement with the building committee. And then construction documents always is the largest phase of the project. So we're producing that full construction documents from the architectural, interior, structural, of course, the civil and site design, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and fire protection, helping you through all that permitting process throughout that area too, but also having the conversations on how the construction contracting method is gonna look. Are you bringing on a construction early on, bidding it out, are we publicly bidding this out? So, you know, our fee, our structure would be either direction that you go. You know, if you wanted our help for interviewing construction managers, we can help you with the RFQ there, and we can help you through the interview process. If you wanna just do fully bidding it out, you know, we structure our front end documents of our specifications, our bidding documents and procurement documents slightly different because of that. So either option, we're here to help you out and make sure that we're producing the right level of, you know, documentation for the road we wanna go. After that, after completion of the documents, of course, there's that bidding phase, fully involved throughout that whole bidding phase, and make sure that, you know, we have, you know, good bidders, you know, we can come up with the recommendations, you know, we can do those, interviews and everything, once we get their bids in there to make sure we're following the scope of the project, understanding who their trades and their subs are and everything, so we're, hopefully can engage that local presence in here, and then, after the bidding, of course, and the awarding of the contract to the construction manager, we don't go away, you know, we really like to stay involved in the construction administration. One of the most recent projects I just worked with Justin was the new clinic in Hayward, or I guess in Cable, just outside of it. We do quite a bit for Hayward Area Memorial Hospital, or now Tamarack Health, but one project we just recently finished was there. And we're on site, we're coming to the construction meetings if it's monthly, you know, we're doing our inspections when we need to do our inspections. Justin, I think you were on almost every construction meeting. Yeah, a lot of them were virtual, but our team, our expectations is we're here throughout the whole process. You know, we're not gonna get the bidding done and kind of just walk away and like, okay, now it's the contractors, you know, time to shine. No, it is their time to shine, but it's also, we wanna make sure that you guys are aware that we will be here addressing, you know, our RFIs, looking through pay requests and pay apps, and, you know, at the end of the project, doing our punch list to make sure the building's built to our plans and our specifications, and, you know, getting you all the information and training that you need, so when you take over that building, you know, you're comfortable that you know how to operate the mechanical systems and anything else in there, so. One thing that we'll talk a little bit is we did have 3 kind of project samples in there. We don't have to flip through the pages, but, you know, Brendan can kind of speak to kind of some of our design philosophies when we're kind of designing that type of building where there is, you know, a large garage or, you know, highway shop portion of that building. So all of the buildings that we have here have some type of that feature on it, and a lot of them did have an administrative component to it, but the majority of the project was the garage portion of it.
Yeah, all of our examples we have on here are that precast and steel bar joist kind of configuration, and used for, in this case, very large machinery or trucks that are used for servicing electrical power lines and distribution lines, and we've worked on, I'd have to say, 90% of the electrical co-ops in the state of Wisconsin. We have Linda Powers is like the guru when it comes to designing and implementing these types of vehicle service bays and garages. We look for high clearances, ample lighting, in-floor heating is a very common ask. We do layout. We start to talk with you guys throughout the process of layout, what trucks are coming in at what times typically, and which angle works best when we park them in there, so you guys aren't doing the back out, back in kind of one-way traffic through the facility to be the most efficient and reduce the amount of risk for you guys to back out into garage doors and into traffic as it's coming through your site. With the vehicle wash bay, we've implemented numerous of them. Typically it's with underground undercarriage wash with a sensor on it, so as you start to pull in, it turns on, and it's a timer, and then again, after you get in, it's manual. You get hose reels on either side, and then pressure washer included. We typically shoot for 18-foot clear minimum with the roof structure heights, just in case if you have a dump truck that you want to service and run up and down, and we look for interior lighting. We try to work in as much natural light as we can with windows through the exterior.
I think that's, a great, so the first two were more of the co-op side of it, but they're more recent projects, so we could take you to a lot of those, do some tours and kind of show you what's worked and doesn't work, talk to them, what they like, what they dislike, but really get a better understanding. So when we're designing your building, maybe there's some lessons learned that we could learn that we could improve on your facility. The last one here was kind of it was more for Xcel Energy, but it had a large storage garage facility, but this was a LEED Silver certified building, so there was a lot of talk about that US green building concepts. And so I'm not saying that we would do it here, but one of the nice things that as we are designing that, we're always thinking of those components. I mean, I think as LEED has came out and other things, I mean, a lot of the manufacturers and products that are available now are more, kind of in a green environment. So, but as we design, we're always kind of thinking of that. But we just wanted to bring one up if that's something that Lady Smith is interested, that we could help you through that LEED certification side of it. So those are a couple of other projects. I know also you kind of wanted to know about the kind of timeline and schedule. So we did lay out that schematic design development, construction document process. And so that's, after these, we kind of laid out each one of them and gave you about the weeks that it take to get through that. So this is through schematic, like I said, design development, construction documents, bidding, awarding, and construction administration. We kind of just laid out some of the major bullet points of what we were trying to accomplish through those processes. We talked a little bit about it already. So, if we go to the next page, it just kind of talks about some of the projects in this area. We kind of work throughout the state of Wisconsin, and we do projects in Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa. But we kind of focused on a lot of the projects in this area on this page. The next page really is kind of talking about that schedule of the design approach that we'd have. So schematic design, the timeline to get through that. And I think, we were conservative on that timeline because we know that it's, we wanted to make sure we gave time for the county board to react to it. Make sure we have a proper meeting. So, can we tighten up this design schedule? Of course we could if we needed to. Very familiar with that building type, as you can see. We do these type of buildings all over all over Wisconsin. We've done some in Minnesota and some in Iowa. So we know this building type. So I think we can help educate you and pull a plan set together really quickly. But we wanted to give time to make sure we got good advice, gave the board time to react to it, but also provide some budgetary numbers to it too. So we don't want to design this beautiful building, 24,000 square feet, and then find that we're over budget and we're all the way into construction documents or in bidding before we realize that. So through these design processes, we always like to share a budgetary number. And then I think the last thing is to talk about if you were looking for that fee. So, we looked at this as, the project can grow, or it could be decreased. So to come into a fixed fee, we really didn't think was appropriate. So we kind of came in with a percentage of construction. So we're at 4.95% of construction cost. And that was for full services. So that would be including the topographical survey, along with the civil and site design, full architectural interior services, structural services, mechanical, plumbing, electrical services, and then fire protection if needed. So shared some of our hourly rates and what's included within our design. And one thing we do like about at River Valley is we don't charge for mileage. So we're going to be here at meetings, we're going to be in front of you, and we're going to be talking to you. So we pretty much just authority type of reviews is really our reimbursables, and that would be the submittals to the Department of Safety and Professional Services for the building and HVAC, and then any permitting or site submittals that would have to go through, and then of course the plumbing would have to also go through Department of Safety and Professional Services too. So, but other than that, our rates really include and it's shown here our transportation, printing cost, post, everything is really included in that. One night Brendan is our bid manager also, so he's making sure we're producing that great set of documents, and everything that we do is going to be in that 3D world. So we can walk you through your building in a 3D world, and you can kind of see that environment and how it's laid out and how it really looks. As long as we can get those vehicles, we can pop those vehicles in there too. But we're not going to model those vehicles if they don't exist. But most of the time, we can typically find a vehicle to pop into those parking stalls. So that's included in there because we do everything in that 3D world, and that's just part of the package that we provide. So, yeah, I can talk forever, I love doing this, but I know I only had a certain time period, so I'll let you get back to your other, meetings and, hopefully hear back from you, because we are really excited to help you with this project. And once again, yeah, thanks for your time.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Any questions for us? All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you much.
Hi Justin, are you there?
I am.
Hi, so this is Ashley, I don't know if you can see us or not, this is Ashley, the administrative coordinator here, and we've got the whole ad hoc committee. Are you ready to go with your presentation?
Yeah, I guess, with that said, I didn't really intend for it to be as much of a presentation as more of a, dialogue or Q&A based on what was shared in the email. So if there's questions about the agreement or what we proposed, I'm happy to answer those questions or share a little bit more about ABCI, but in terms of a formal presentation, that wasn't my intention.
Sure, do you wanna just kinda walk us through, what you had presented in your response? So maybe, talk through one of these, projects like in Baraboo or Reedsburg here?
Sure, yeah, so just briefly a little bit more about ABCI. We've been around for just over 35 years. My dad started our company, and we've done a lot of work in the municipal world. The projects that we've most recently completed in Baraboo and Reedsburg were for Sauk County, and they pre-selected us to work on those projects under a construction manager. Divine Inc. was the construction manager on that one. And so they hired us for architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all those engineering services, civil engineering, and structural engineering as well. So the project in Baraboo was a little over 150,000 square feet, 2-story precast panel, and I think the project came in they were originally budgeted around 30 million. It ended up coming in at just over 33 million, which was that one was being bid out. It was a pretty hot inflationary time and volatile in construction. So a little over $200 a square foot on that one. Similarly for Reedsburg, they were not quite congruently under design and construction, pretty similar. So they were, I think, just a little over 40,000 square feet in Reedsburg. There was a cold storage component to that, as well as a salt and sand storage building as well. And I want to say that one was just over 5 million. Ended up being a pre-engineered metal building on that one. A lot of the same similar features that you guys were requesting in your RFP with the wash bays and types of trucks and equipment that are going to be utilizing in the facility. So certainly a project type that we're familiar with.
Sure, and would you mind just walking us through what your proposed project schedule was, kind of the different phases you guys take, your approach to these types of projects?
Yeah, absolutely. Just bear with me 1 second to grab that. Okay, so we used the baseline of what you guys shared with us in the RFP, and assuming in a perfect world everything was selected, decision was made, we would get the milestone and contracts in place by the 19th of December, and jumping right into schematic design. So we have about 24 business days, excuse me, set aside for that. So a couple different meetings in there with us and time for you guys to review. And then getting a schematic design sign off by the latter half of January, which would get us into the design development phase. So, similar 2-3 meetings to review between us and yourselves and our consultants. And then we'd get our consultant documents due to do the first round of quality control and continue on through the design from there. And then at the end of design development, we would do the first formal quality, QC review amongst us and our consultants. And that would be done by the end of February, excuse me. And then rolling along into the construction document phase, or really finalizing all the details of the plan set. We're at that point, done usually moving rooms around and that type of thing. Again, the same quality control review of construction documents with the consultants, and having that all wrapped up for you guys by the first part of April. So once we have all the construction documents pulled together, we'll be working hand in hand with you through the bidding and contracting phase. So doing the notice to bid, and then orchestrating the formal bid date, and reviewing those bids with you, calculating them in a bid tab, making sure that we have as much as we can for apples to apples. Evaluating any alternates should there be any. We're looking for any cost savings available in that phase, and then making those bids. Anticipated final bids are due end of May. And then, working with you to go through the contractor, we assist in putting the contractor's AIA contract together and getting them released there. And so once we get into construction, we typically are on site once every 2 to 3 weeks, making sure that the contractor is building what was in our plan set, and you guys are getting what you paid for in terms of quality, materials, and on schedule. So with that all being said, we proposed wrapping up that process of construction in January of 26.
Great, and then just to wrap up, is there anything you want to clarify with the committee or go over in terms of your proposed fees?
So we took a pretty comprehensive approach in terms of all the disciplines that are required in terms of civil engineering, architectural, limited interior design, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and low voltage, structural, and then the construction administration services is something that I think is a bit of a differentiator for us. So like I mentioned, we would propose being on site once every 2 to 3 weeks, but our construction administration team, the majority of those people are either ex-project superintendents on the construction side or ex-project managers. So we find that works really well once the contractor's on board. Those team members really understand what the contractor's going through, is able to talk turkey with them, and it just makes for a really good team approach. But at the same time, understanding that we're working for the county and, making sure that we're keeping your guys' best interests at the forefront.
Anybody have any questions? None? Thank you, Justin.
Thanks.
We appreciate your time, thank you.
CUNY Architects.
So we're running a little ahead of schedule. John, are you on from CUNY?
Sent him a message.
Oh, there he is. Oh,
That's awesome.
oh, yeah, we can see your mouth moving, but we can't hear you. I think so, because we've been hearing other people.
Well, I suppose because it's so
Hear me out of here.
Well, technology.
Audio?
Yes, there you are.
All right. I have one other individual joining us in a minute. He just ran. We are conducting this remotely because I was on vacation, but just so you know, so John Schmidt will be joining us from our office and bringing up the PowerPoint.
Oh, perfect. And we know we're running ahead of schedule, so, you know, your slot was for 4:20.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's always good to run ahead of schedule, especially when you got 20-minute time slots.
Yes.
So everybody that's part of the interview, are you in view? So it's the four of you?
We also have our interim highway commissioner, Justin. You can't see him. We have Supervisor Kudo, Supervisor Wedwick, and Supervisor Moore that you can't see as well.
Oh, great. All right, thank you.
Yep.
I'm just gonna give my office a heads up that we're running early, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Is this Cooley Architects?
Yes.
There he is. John, can you hear us?
Yes.
I can hear you, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, wonderful.
So we're ready to start. Sorry, you guys are early, so we're ready to go. John's back. Let us know when he's able to pull up the PowerPoint.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to take over the screen, just go right ahead.
Okay, before I give you all a little break from looking at my face, nice to meet everybody. Before I pull the PowerPoint up, or as I do, maybe we can ask everyone to introduce themselves, and then John and I will introduce ourselves.
Sure, so I'll start. I'm Ashley Heath. I'm the administrative coordinator.
I'm John Caleb, County Board Chairman and the committee chair.
I'm Brian Coggins, one of the supervisors.
I'm Connie Meyer, the county clerk.
Justin Livingston, interim commissioner.
Tom Kudo, County Board Supervisor.
Terry Wedwick, county board supervisor.
John Moore, county board.
That's all of us.
And John Schmidbauer, just so you know, you probably figured it out, there's more people in the foreground that we're not seeing.
I did figure that, those were the shy members of the group. Which, can everybody see the front page of our, PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's great. So, if John didn't mention this already, we're very, appreciative of you giving us a chance to, talk with you guys a little bit. We will, go through a number of things just kind of about CUNY Architects and some of the things we do in a little more detail, a little bit of our history, and then we'd love to get to a chance to just, answer questions or just talk a little bit more about the project. So there we go. So, you should all see project team. Actually, I can see that you see it.
Yeah. As John mentioned, John Wallenkamp, John and I have been business partners for over 20 years. CUNY Architects has been around since 1959. The work that we're talking to you tonight about makes up over 90% of our scope of work that we do at our office. And as we go through the presentation, you'll kind of see that expertise that we feel we really bring to the table that's specifically related to your project. John?
Yeah, so, John Schmidbauer, like John said, you and I have been working together. Did you say 20, John? It's over 30.
It's 30.
But
yeah,
time flies. No, we've been working together a long time, and we've got a team, both here in the office with the individuals that you see listed below, who've been working with us for a long time as well. And then we've got outside of the office a team of consultants that handle the engineering, mechanical, electrical engineering. Pardon? Thought I heard a voice. I apologize. That handle mechanical, electrical, and then Linda Johnson, who does the civil site work with her staff. My principal role is structural engineer, but I also get involved with a number of the other aspects with specifications and code and some of the other things. This is, like John said, 90% of our work is public work from any variety of different government entities, all different sizes, all different types of fleet and other buildings, and across the Midwest, we've done all these these projects and more over the years, and it's pretty much been the same team of John and I for sure, and many in the office here that have been with our firm that have worked on most of all of these projects.
And the project understanding, obviously, is an exciting time for you guys. Anytime you're able to do any level of project is exciting. 24,000 square feet, for some will say that's a small project. Small, big, whatever it is, it's an important entity that costs taxpayer money. We understand that. The slide prior kind of showed you all different levels of work. Regardless of the level of work we do, the same process goes into that work. Within that 24,000 square foot footprint, we know we're going on your existing site. Your goal is to keep operations going on that site. As we get to the next slide, you see, as you guys know, it's your building right now is kind of in the prime real estate where a new building probably would go. So as we work through, if we get to the next phase, we work through the pros and cons of keeping that building in that site. There's future expansion we want to keep on the table. Also looking at what you do with the forestry and ambulance. I know those are looking pieces that maybe are later on, but we would tell you that there might be some synergy to try to get that design in there right away, and maybe even bid those as alternates up front. We've gone through the cost estimating on the project, and we'll get to that slide. But I think you have enough dollars set aside for this project that you may be able to reach a little farther than the 24,000 square feet. So as we would build the program, review all your program stuff, it would help define those pieces. We can show and kind of give you what we recommend and how you bid it. Typical vehicles inside, whether they're plow trucks, excavators, we all know, door heights, width, the emissions, everything that goes into that design of that building, is what we do every day of the week.
Yeah, and then, I would touch on just the comment about keeping keeping operations going. That's also something we're very, very familiar with. We've done numbers of the projects where, we've had an existing operation happening next to the construction, and then the second phase, would come to take that existing down, or like your case where there's an addition, and all of that happens, kind of seamlessly until the very end, and then you make that connection. So we're very familiar with all of those things.
Just a quick aerial view of your site. The long big blue piece is your existing facility. To the right, the white piece is your newer fuel island. The purple magenta pieces are storage facilities that say, maybe our entities that for sure can go away. The salt we've depicted as your state salt location, and the green is your forestry. So just throwing the size down there to 24,000 square foot, that's the orange. But you can see we started playing around with some potential areas where that new facility would go, and as we build the program with you guys, we would show you the pros and cons of what location of this site where it would go. Next slide, John.
We're gonna wanna look at flow, how the traffic, comes and goes with the staff traffic and any public traffic that might be part of this, how the fueling happens and how that all interacts with everything that's going on the site.
The big piece for us, you've done a lot of pre-discovery work, I'll call it, for programming, but our goal is to take that to a whole nother level. Literally getting all staff involvement, community involvement, making sure those steps are the steps you want to take. These are all pieces we build with you. Who and how we get people involved. Bottom line is our experience show the more people you have to get involved from day one, the easier any approvals you need can happen. So that's whether, at a county board workshop or a highway committee workshop, just a citizens outreach thing. We work different expansion, different things with you. How do we get that and reach out to everybody so everybody's aware of what you're doing? Taking those existing master plans, expanding on those. Our goal is to make sure this is not a boilerplate. Everything is customized to your county, to your people that work in this facility. The design process, we heavily use a lot of 3D imagery. These are a lot of pretty pictures, but the main thing is to show you our goals. We're going to show you inside the building, outside the building, so you know exactly when we're programming your building, what it's going to look like inside. That helps to keep change orders to a minimum to none. People understand what they're getting from day one. And some of this we're going to hit pretty fast because of the time limit, and we need to go back. Please let us know, or you can stop us as we're talking.
Yeah, one of the other things that we would do, if it works out as part of this project, is that we would wanna go and look at some other facilities that are in the area, whether there are facilities or other facilities. It really helps in the planning of details, for people to understand, you know, we're not just parking trucks in this building. You know, what are the detail elements that come with that? And it's a lot, you know, it's very valuable for people to see, you know, other facilities and how they have fluids and how they, you know, how they park, and how they access, you know, the other areas of the building and so forth. So if it works out.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, John.
Yeah, our goal is to make this building as efficiency as possible, so all the workers can get in and out as a minimum time as possible, so that you're actually having the building help pay for itself through efficiencies. Creating an environment, this is a big piece. A lot of times, these are simple buildings, but they can be minimum things incorporated, whether it's natural light, how we light the actual lights come on, the different break rooms, the locker rooms, the wash bay, that entire environment, we wanna make sure that's an environment that, first of all, works for the employees, but also lasts a long time. These aren't 10, 25-year buildings, these are 75-year buildings in our minds. So it's not like you're building a building and 25 years later, you're able to just add on or knock it down.
Yeah, and you know, and some of the other things we look at in terms of the environment and how it interacts with the people that use that building on a regular basis is we also want to make sure that we're, you know, having the building as safe as possible, to try to limit, you know, insurance claims and workman's comp and all those different things. You know, all those seem, it's part of doing business, but it, you know, every little bit that you can save is something that is gonna keep your staff and your employees, you know, as good, happy people, and it reduces expenses on your end of it too. But talking a little bit about, you know, the design phase and how we accomplish that, BIM is, you know, is just a way of life, and it's been something, you know, Autodesk Revit is something we've been using for a dozen years now. It's, you know, it's just become a way of the construction industry, and we're up to speed on it. We all, as a team, work, you know, in the cloud, and we model in real time, to create the documents that we put out on the street, which are hardly ever paper anymore. John, are you there?
Yep, next one.
Okay.
Yeah, the construction phase, it sounds like a lot of feedback that we get back from clients, past clients, that this was a struggle to them, and they've taken a lot of time. This should be the easiest part of the project when you're working. The goal is the construction process, all the homework was pre-done, so the weekly, bi-weekly meetings should be easy meetings, just helping the contractor through the construction of the building. We help through those process of the weekly meetings, we help with the pay application, any change orders that may happen, we are there to help understand them and work through them.
And one other quick thing on this is during a construction process, it's the same people. It's John, it's myself, it's everybody. You know, we don't pass this off to, you know, a construction department or project manager. The same people that were part of the design all the way through will be the same people that will be part of the construction process. Where that comes in as a value to the client is, you know, you see something in construction and maybe the contractor who's not familiar with the project suggests a change. Hey, we could do this, or we could save some money if we could move this particular piece of equipment over here, or whatever. And the fact that, you know, it's the same team members, we're able to say, no, you remember when we were talking about design, the specific reason we put this over here. So that those things that were talked about in the early stages aren't lost once you get to construction.
Sustainability, we don't look at any of this stuff as extra cost. A lot of our designs are baseline design pieces. We've won multiple awards with Wisconsin, Iowa for our designs, which we call our baseline designs, but giving you incredible value and sustainability, whether it's solar panel, whether it's reclaiming water, or just the building envelope, so your utility bills for the life of the building are less. So it's things that we feel go into the building design, help make it an efficient building, and it don't have to create extra costs.
Right, and we're gonna look at those in terms of what benefit they have to you, not necessarily just that, you know, it's something we wanna do. It's gotta make sense and it's gotta have payback.
Why CUNY? To me, we feel we are one of the leaders in the industry delivering this type of facility, but more importantly, we feel we're the number one person that gives you the most cost-effective, efficient building that helps pay for itself. This isn't just us saying it, this is from past users. We highly recommend, and every one of our projects listed in your book, not just the references, please call them. They will give you feedback on CUNY Architects and why that they continue to hire us. Most places we start working for, we never stop. It's a thing that, at the end of the day, it's not our dollar, it's the taxpayer's dollar. We want to make sure it's spent properly and wisely. And bottom line, we listen. I mentioned earlier, we kind of did a quick run through your building based on other facilities we've done here lately, and then the cost of construction in your area. So the upper tan line, you're seeing $6.2 million to $6.6 million. We actually see your budget of $7 million for the construction is well where you need to be. This is a good thing to see. Typically that number I can tell you is too low, and then you're fighting it from day one. So we'll just start running that, and as we go along with you, we create a total project budget too, so you know where you're at. But construction-wise, I think you're in a really good position. We do have our fee structure. Didn't know if that needs to be talked about. It is an additional slide later on. If there are questions to that, we'll be happy to go over that. But right now, we'd like to open it up for questions so we can make sure we get all your questions answered.
Anybody got any questions?
I do.
Go ahead, Tom.
So, if I heard right, you're saying you're coming in at like 6.2?
Correct. John, can you go back to that slide?
And that is
That's
not,
correct.
that's not with any contingencies?
That's correct. That is right at correct. In your facility, you know, at a 24,000 square foot, I'm not sure what you guys typically see. Typically tell you to carry 5 to 8% until you get to maybe 30% CDs.
Okay. I mean, I guess the point would be that just because we have budgeted 7 mil, we wouldn't necessarily want to spend that much. And if you.
Oh, exactly.
You know
Nope, I agree. And that's what I wanted to point out. On a high level, based on what we're seeing, I think you're in a good position on funding wise. Yep.
Thank you.
That's huge. Suck the wind right out.
And then, are we able to, I'll just type, I'm sorry, Keith, was there another question?
No, Ashley and I were conversing here a little bit, sorry about that, but anybody else have any other questions? And we probably don't have a lot, to be honest with you, because we have a lot to absorb here. So we're
Oh,
probably.
no problem.
We're probably a little overwhelmed with, a lot of information in front of us, so, I mean, don't be offended if we don't ask questions, because we have a lot to take in.
Yeah, yeah, and all I ask is, you know, as you go through the night, obviously you guys have taken on a lot, we thank you for the process you're going through. Any questions that do come up, please get them off to us. I can tell you when you get to the fee part, our fee is 100% inclusive, there are no additional fees that are tacked on to those numbers, mileage, anything, everything, that's all inclusive to your project.
Where are you guys out of again?
We're out of Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. So, just cut off of Milwaukee.
Yep. Okay.
But, yeah.
Anyone else have anything that they may or may not wanna say or ask? We can kinda keep moving on. I think we're.
Hopefully you guys are scheduling some sort of a break in there, and you've got an awful big plate, an awful lot on your plate today.
I don't know if a break was even in part of that equation yet.
Yeah. Well, you're still gonna have a schedule for 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for meeting with us and giving us your presentation. And,
Great.
we'll, definitely let you know in the future here which way we're gonna go.
Sounds good, thank you for your
Okay,
time.
very nice meeting you all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm not sure.
What's that?
Dimension 4, I believe they are going to.
Right?
Yes, and I believe he told me he was going.
Where are you going with this?
Like, wasn't like they told us it would cost 10 million, and these people said 3 million. 7 and 6 are closer than, you know what I mean?
No.
Okay.
I don't have an extra 100, 200.
Okay.
So the better
Okay.
we're
No,
this way
I
versus
agree
this
with
way,
you.
that's huge.
Yeah.
I know, you're young, you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you.
No, I was like, well, it sounded like he said we'd save $2 million.
A penny to me is a lot.
Well, yeah.
That $7 million figure, did we come up with that when Kurt threw that out there from Samuels when he?
We based it off in like, so the hospital, it came in at what, 33 and change, put us at that total of, 40 million.
The hospital or the
So-
jail?
Huh?
The hospital or the jail? The jail.
Did I say the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the jail.
You know what you meant.
So that way we would cap at that 40 mark.
Yep, right.
And the way we were looking at that, or at least myself anyways, is we can kick 2 buildings for what we were looking at last year for one.
Right.
So
Right.
if we can stay closer to that range,
That's
better
the
off
cost
we
of
are.
their bids. That's their bid for design.
Dimension 4?
Hi, good afternoon.
You can take her away anytime you're ready, unless you want us to introduce ourselves.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and give me a second. Can you see our screen?
Yep.
With our presentation of Dimension 4 Madison on it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good. Thanks very much for having us. My name is Jim Gorsick. With me today is David Overbeck, who was just talking, is Tina Gordon, David and others are in our Wausau location. On our team, we have Apex Engineering from Eau Claire and Strategic Structural Design, and both of those firms helped us with your Rusk County Animal Shelter expansion project. But we also have REI for civil engineering, and they're from Wausau. So what we want to do in the next 10 minutes is what we call 10 and 10. So in 10 minutes, we want to cover 10 different items about your project, roughly a minute each, so we're going to go forward right now.
All right. One of the most important things is developing a master plan for the site. Within that, we start looking at site characteristics, property lines, topography, drainage, utilities. We look at site traffic flow, parking areas, internal traffic lanes, building entrances. We also look at how the site is secured as far as public versus highway department personnel. Existing facility locations. We understand that you'll be, the existing facilities will be remaining in place while the new facility is constructed. We look at outdoor material storage areas, like culvert storage, all the materials that you utilize, your road base, things like that that are stored on site. One of the most important things is dealing with vehicle and equipment documentation. Documenting all the equipment you have and also any future equipment. Then we start looking at turning radiuses, how vehicles maneuver around between facilities, around the facilities, getting back to storage areas. And then the result is looking at building placement. Where are the potential locations for this new facility that allow for future expansion as this facility will grow? Then we look at the future how the future expansions are phased. How can you construct these in the future, and how will that work throughout the project? Next step is looking at the building, the actual building layout. You'll see on the screen here a diagram of a facility we did in Shawnee. But different things are looked at. Vehicle storage bays, how wide do they have to be? Vehicle to vehicle spacing, how wide the doors are. We look at where the access points are for highway department staff. Also required employee areas. So all of those entities we bring into the project. We look at mechanical and electrical rooms. We look at how emergency power might be needed, such as an inside jet set room to provide, in some of the worst conditions, heavy snows, wind and blowing snows, how do we provide power if power is lost? Then we can look at drive-through versus back installs. Sprinkler and compartmentalized building, vertical space utilization, possible for future mezzanines, whether they're built now or in the future. It all comes down to the devil's really in the details on how we construct the building. We look at overhead doors, whether there's one stall served by one door, there may be two stalls served by one door, one wide door that allows better access and backing in. We look at the wall and roof construction. Can it be pre-engineered metal building? Well, it should be precast which has more mass and retains heat. Or masonry. We'll look at slope or internally draining. Floor drainage systems for snow melt. A lot of water comes off these trucks when they're coming off the road after plowing. How do we take or control that water, possibly even water filtering or recycling? How do we insulate the foundations, whether they're shallow or how do we protect those, especially with possible inflow radiant heat? One of the ways is underfloor insulation throughout. So we look at all those features. The next thing is site features. What are the soils on the site? That's going to make a difference in how we design floor slabs. Stormwater detention and underground storage for similar to what Walmart has in back of their facility along the west side with a stormwater detention area. Minimizing an additional paving was one of your objectives, mainly because the future facilities may be constructed and then you disturb that, and also the reduced cost. We know we're in a shoreline protection area, we need to look at that, and work with the city to work with that zoning and what we need to do to ensure protecting the environment. Site lighting throughout the site. If we build in that site, how do we deal with that? Do we include it throughout the site? One of the things that's important when we're looking at some of these facilities are how, what materials we use, how we create efficiencies within the mechanical systems, such as high efficiency boilers and in-floor heating. We need to look at, when we start to look at sustainability, what are some systems that we might plan for that may either be put in the building right now or plan for in the future? One thing is photovoltaic systems that might be put on the roof that may accommodate, we have to accommodate 5 pounds per square foot. So those things can be looked at as we move through this process.
So, thank you, Tina. We want to talk a little bit about your schedule. Our goal will be to get you done and in your building before the snow flies later in 2025, not 2026, 2025. So how do we do that? So there are strategies that we can and quite often do implement to be able to make that happen. So October of 2025 is our target, November at the latest. So one is long lead equipment. You've heard all about electrical equipment taking forever to get, gen sets. We will look at and discuss with you bidding some of this long lead equipment right after the end of the master plan phase, as soon as we know the size of the building. We might even recommend a pre-engineered metal building if it turns out that way, like the one you see in the picture, being ordered early. So we get these things on track fast, and we commence construction as soon as possible in the spring of 2025, maybe even April, maybe even March if we're lucky with no frost in the ground. So the best chance to complete and the best price is to move expeditiously. I want to talk a little bit about mechanical, electrical, because as you well know, a large part of the budget goes in this direction. In-floor heating, we've talked about ventilation. So ventilation helps not just from the perspective of keeping the base drier, with all the water generated in there, including by the wash bay, but also for the removal of carbon monoxide and nitrogen dioxide. So we have also the possibility of ceiling fans, what are called high volume, low speed fans that could also help ventilate. And they're kind of a poor man's perception of air conditioning at the same time because the air is moving, making you feel cooler, even though it's not per se mechanical air conditioning. And I want to talk a little bit more about wash bay. So one possible scenario is a wash bay like on the lower right, the traditional wand strategy. We've certainly done that. That's a picture of our wash bay at Windsor here in the Madison area. But on the left is the wash bay, and at the upper right is the wash bay at Shawano. This is intentionally sophisticated equipment that allows for a drive-through or drive-over, kind of like at the car wash you would go to with your car or truck, where your undercarriage is washed at the same time as your sides and roof of your vehicle are washed. You can see the curtains that help control the water flow on top, and the equipment on the right in the red is the same as you see on the left. So that would be an example of something we'd explore with you. But budget comes into play as well. Want to talk about budget? What you see on the right is a typical contractor in your area, our area, all across Wisconsin, who breaks down the budget. Just a few points I want to point out there. So for instance, right in the middle under the S of sample is the performance and payment bond. We'll identify that cost. Below that are other features. We may have a feature in there for technology or PV panels, rooftop solar, David mentioned. So if we do explore those, we would budget for those. Technology simply means you have to be in the digital technology, even in a storage garage. And then other things like furniture, fixtures, and equipment. I just mentioned the notion of equipment relative to the wash bay. There may be other things that fit into that category, like shelving for storage or whatever you want to do in that building. So we want to super insulate the building. We want to get maximum bang for our buck. $291 a square foot is what 24,000 square feet at 7 million roughly equates to. We want to look at this internally drained versus over the edge rainwater. Maybe we save the cost of roof piping and roof drains, and essentially maximize your square footage by minimizing your cost per square foot. Now, I mentioned square feet, and this is our last 10th of 10 bullets. So often the budget is dictated by the size of the building or what we call a magic number syndrome. Sometimes people get a number in mind and they won't let go of that number. Maybe it is 7 million, not 7 million and $1, maybe it's 7 million. So whatever it is, we work with you on that to correlate size, bay size, parking stall spacing, depth of bay, cost directly related to the volume of the building, how tall it is. You got more exterior wall, the taller it is, and the future mezzanines or current mezzanines that you could build. And these equipment platforms actually do not increase the size of the building in terms of the footprint. So that's our 10 and 10. Thank you for inviting us again, and we would encourage you to ask any questions you might have about anything.
Anybody got any questions? Ready to start.
Was that dollar figure on that, was that your estimate for our building?
No, that was just an example
Okay.
of a way it will be broken down.
All right, thank you.
Our estimate for your building is 7 million, not a penny more.
You have your word?
Yeah, you take my word for it. Because what we do, if we set that goal early, and as I said, that's what we call magic number syndrome. If we know that your politicians, so to speak, your electeds, are committed to a project and they don't want to spend more than 7 million, we make that work. We do everything humanly possible to make that work, no questions asked. The sooner we, like long lead items, sooner we get things under contract, the cheaper they're going to be.
Okay, any other questions, anybody? If not, I think we're about done here. We have a lot to absorb here, so that's probably why we're quiet.
That's fine, that's fine. We look forward to speaking with you at a second interview.
You bet, we
Thanks for
appreciate
having
your
us.
time and presentation, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
The pile even living?
6 out of 10 on the downhill side.
Well, Joel's not on, I think it was Joel who's gonna be on.
Joe's two people, that guy is up there.
Sure.
We used to, then I used to install it. Still think it wasn't fun.
Should be.
He caught me, and he should have, you're not a slow that. No, you don't. I've got some notes here, and I've had some pre-selections.
Same, yeah.
We'll see.
Seriously, you decided to take advantage.
Oh, okay, right, thank you. They're from Bloom. It's like they're coming up. Bloom.
They're like second to last.
Oh.
What's gold supposed to be?
They're, yep. I know Joel is on, is gonna be on virtual, so just,
Yeah, outside.
yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we're doing this now, and not at Christmas.
Yeah.
I figured we do this now, so then we have actually time to review on this. It's kind of. That's good. give Wold some time. How's it going?
Going all right.
Living the dream?
Sometimes.
A month of this year. Oh, I did get you this morning.
I'm sorry?
I forgot to do my rear pack on several times. So, just to tell you that, we're gonna go with 5 county board members.
In Mill City.
They pulled out.
Have they, so for sure they pulled out?
12/31, they're done, they're out. So, and I've got resolutions that we have to change the county ordinances in your. I don't mind you. So that'll be coming up at the county board meeting on Tuesday.
Also got one more meeting now, we have to deal with it. What's that? Do you have any candidates
I brought him in person. I brought him in person, what about it?
We need an escort.
Sure.
Whoa.
We're here. Sit at the table.
Okay. That's where we're used to sitting.
Pick a place and head it.
Text my colleagues, let them go to the company headquarters.
I actually thought you guys would be virtual.
Some of us will be. Yep. We have a mixed bag here today, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I figure since we're so close.
Nice time for the ride, right?
Yeah. Who do we have here?
Old Architects. I'm Joel Dunning.
Joel, Tom Kudo. County supervisor. County board supervisor. You don't have data in here. Oh.
Where'd Miss Ash go? Where'd Miss Ash go?
What's going on to Bristol?
She went to call us, who knows? I think she was walking out right when we came in, so.
Finally, yeah, right in front of the-
She'll be back.
Jeff, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wool is out of.
You're gonna have to flip those down today, probably.
We know Ashley from our master plan. We wanna go around the room for introductions of everyone else while we're waiting.
Terry Weber, county board supervisor.
John Moore, County Board.
John Caleb, County Board Chairman, and Steve Terry.
Brian Coggins, County Board Supervisor.
Meyer, county clerk.
Connie, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Hi, nice to meet you. Get me started.
Yeah, I
Walked in.
volunteered.
You started. It's been a while.
Yeah, year and a half or so, right?
Yeah, I remember you guys. They did our.
Yeah, we did the countywide facilities
We did.
master plan.
Still comes up every.
Hopefully that's a good thing.
And while we're waiting for Ashley, we have two of our colleagues here on the line, Reed Pidich and Paige Sullivan.
Yep, we can hear
Yes.
you.
We've been having a little technical difficulty too.
Just so the two of you are aware, I think we're waiting for Ashley to get back, so.
I don't know if we necessarily have to wait for her. She just kinda sits here,
You're in charge here, so.
Let her rip.
Alright, great. Well, thank you very much for having us. For those of you who haven't met us before, we're with Wold Architects and Engineers. I'm Joel Dunning, I'm a partner at Wold, and, there's Ashley. Just started.
Oh, good. I thought you were gonna be on virtual, so I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
It was a quick trip.
Oh,
Just
good.
like that. Walked out the door and then,
So, as I said, I'm Joel Dunning, I'm a partner at Wold, and we are located in St. Paul. We've actually got 4 offices across the country: Denver, Chicago, Nashville, and then our headquarters in St. Paul. We have about 350 or so people across all offices, with about 250 of those in our St. Paul office. So we have a lot of staff resources. We have in-house architectural, mechanical, and electrical engineers to be able to have a good integrated design. We all did introductions of our names, but Jonathan, maybe roll.
Yep. I'm Jonathan Loze. Kind of started out as an engineer, one of our partners and planners. Really do quite a bit of the public works and highway shop projects that we do. I think just my kind of engineering background has helped me kind of be able to talk the talk when it comes to these types of buildings too.
And Paige, roll.
Yeah, I'm Paige Sullivan. So I was included also with Joel on the facility planning study that we did with you guys a couple years ago. So it's exciting to be back here. I am a project manager at Wold. I've been on the architecture team here for about a decade now. I really love working on these kinds of projects. So thank you for having us.
And Reed Pidich, mechanical engineer, but I will be leading our in-house engineering effort, which consists of mechanical, electrical, and technology engineers. And like Jonathan, I guess I stayed in the industry of engineering, but looking forward to discussing some advantages of having in-house engineering.
Beyond the 4 of us, we also have our a longtime consultant in a civil and structural engineer on our team, and then also a long-term consultant for cost estimating, because we know that hitting a budget is the very first priority for every public project we work on. This team is the team that you'll work with throughout the duration of the project. There's no changeover of staff. We believe in building relationships with our clients and then keeping the consistency of our people throughout the duration of the project. I know that we were asked to kind of go through our proposal, and I'll just summarize at the beginning. I think there's 3 points that I want to make sure that you guys read in that, and we'll go into more detail about that at the rest of our time. But I think that the county knows the level of the service we provide from the master planning effort we performed here, facility master plan. We very much believe in proposing a fixed fee at the beginning of every project, whether it's a study or whether it's a building project, and then we work until you're happy. You know, we don't believe in setting a certain number of hours for a project. We don't believe in a certain number of options we're going to explore. We don't set a certain number of trips we're going to come out here and visit. Our belief is that you've hired us, you have a fixed budget, so why shouldn't we have a fixed fee? But our mission is to make sure that it's a good experience for everyone, that we continue to work on it. And I think we went through maybe 8 or 10 options on the master plan before we found the one that worked and we finalized. And that's the type of mentality we have, that we just want to work hard to make sure that our clients are happy. Second point is that we listen. You saw that also hopefully in the master planning effort for those of you we are experts in all the building types in the public sector, but we are expert enough to know that we don't know you. We need to sit down and understand what you're trying to accomplish and then help apply our expertise to guide our clients to the right decision. But we don't come in and say, here's your answer. We've done this 1,000 times. This is your answer. It's very important for you to have ownership, your highway team, everyone to have ownership in the final solution, And that takes a conversation, not just us as experts telling you what you need. And then the third point is that we do have great expertise in this building type. Because we're entirely public sector focused, that's why we were a great fit for the master plan, but we know all the building types under the county umbrella, including public works. And it's not just a big box. There are a lot of very technical things that go into designing a highway shop. And so we bring that sort of expertise. We're not just throwing our hat in the ring because it looks like a good project. It's because we know this building type and we know that we can deliver a really great building in the end that fits with the county's long-term vision. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jonathan to talk a little more about our expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imbue you all with the knowledge that we might have in the facilities. You know, you've seen some of our examples in the RFP response, but I think just a couple of things that when we design these types of facilities that I find is really important. You know, you can look at it like just a box, and a lot of people think, oh, it's just whether it's precast or pre-engineered metal building, you can easily put the building up. But I think there's a couple of key components, and it's really more about the operations. And so internal operations in terms of the exact vehicles and equipment that are going to go in there, having a good idea of the inventory of every piece of equipment that's going to land in that building, you really have to design around that. And it's no different than what you do with any other building. You design around the people that are in it and the operations, and those vehicles become really critical. And Scott County is one of the examples I think is a good one where we have just a heated warm vehicle storage building, and they're the only county in Minnesota that has tandem axle and tow plows that they pull. And so it's this vehicle with the tow plow that ends up almost 200 feet long that you really have to try to accommodate how to fit that thing into a facility. So thinking about the exact types of equipment that you will use and how that's going to play into the building is important. The other big thing that I always look at is, the building is just one component of it. The site planning and understanding how you're going to move equipment in and out of there is so critical as a part of this project too. And really looking at the turning radius of the vehicles and thinking about the future of that site too, I think is extremely important. So there's always just that component of the building, but the operations and how you're going to actually use it and the site becomes just as important as a part of that building and your overall operations as the box itself too.
So our proposal.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Paige. I was going to transition, but our.
Oh yeah, no, I
talk
was
about
just
the
gonna
plan. Go
jump
for it.
in, but if you have a transition, you can go ahead.
Go for it.
That was it.
Just wanted to talk a little bit about our detailed work plan and kind of how we move forward in the process. So Joel kind of outlined it in the beginning, but communication is key for us, and I think that's really what sets Wolf apart is our participatory planning process. We find that in order to create a building that when people walk in, they all have ownership of, we find that meeting with stakeholders early on throughout the entire process is really what gets us our best information. So we do that from kind of day one as we set out some of those communication guidelines and expectations, and we facilitate communication between you and us and all of the stakeholders who are going to be in the building. We do that through different types of meetings and with different groups. We meet with the users of the building that we can understand how their day-to-day life is in the facility and what's going to go into the facility to make their job easier. And then we bring information back to a core planning group, which is some stakeholders that you're going to identify. Maybe it's some of the people in this room, the kind of the decision makers. So we don't have too many decision makers. Everybody's not involved in that. So we kind of outline who those people are in the beginning. And through all of those discussions, all that communication is really how we develop our criteria for the facility that we're going to design.
And those criteria help kind of set the stage for what the building's intended to provide for the county. But then there's those detailed pieces too. And that's where that listing piece I think really comes into play, because we're working with some other planning exercises in Wisconsin right now, and we've talked about different trends and things like that. And this particular engineer said, "Well, we're not quite ready for brine yet," and that's not the true for everybody, but, you know, it's just one example of one of those things that, you know, there are different, sort of operations for each different client, and we need to know how to utilize what they're gonna use, and maybe look at some other options in the future that might be coming up, to really develop the best approach, for the individual building. And I think I kinda said it before, if you're not thinking about that big picture, you really run the risk of painting yourself into a corner, especially on these types of facilities. If you're not asking about, you know, line operations or a bridge crane and, you know, all of those other things, and you're planning for it, all of a sudden you've got a facility that it might fit everything, but it might not be supporting, you know, the staff and the operations that you really need it to. And so that's why, you know, Joel's said this before, is, you know, we're really not gonna stop until you're happy, and that's true for just, even in the design process. We're gonna go through a bunch of different options, and, you know, it might just look like a rectangle all the time, but what's inside of it and how you really use it and the different pieces of components of part of it, I think will be really important as we go through that.
Okay, do you wanna jump in on quality control?
Yeah, so, quality control really goes hand in hand with, you know, cost management and cost estimating. We find it very important to establish criteria right early on about expectations around cost. Nobody likes a project that, you know, has a bunch of scope creep and turns out to be something that can't be awarded, or people have heartburn moving forward. So we define expectations early on, and we really stick to milestone schedules that we create. So we're constantly going back to the estimators that we work with and identifying where we are, make sure we don't get too far out of line cost-wise. If we do find ourselves, you know, kind of creeping up on cost, we go back to the drawing board and look at the scope, make sure we're not changing anything there. And then we really work with our partners in our industry. We follow a lot of, we work with a lot of contractors, so we understand the bidding environment, so we can understand, you know, what are some routes that we can go down to maybe find some cost savings for you guys. All of that kind of sets up for a good bid day, and lets us have a successful project. Again, nobody wants to be over budget, so that's really important.
Thanks, Paige. As I mentioned kind of in my intro, we really believe having in-house engineering is a differentiator for us, and the key to successful projects is really integrating the in-house engineering services, including the technical resources from the beginning of the project. The balance between our engineering and architecture really enables us to customize every project to really what your guys' needs and goals are as the client, which is especially important early on with the public works facility, with all the infrastructure coordination that's needed for, you know, like Jonathan was talking about, the trucks and the overhead doors, vehicle exhausts, wash bays, and on and on and on. And allowing us and having us at the table early, really to discuss any project or sustainable goals you guys may have, helps you understand that a lot of the decisions you're going to make are really kind of a balance between three pretty basic but often competing goals, which is first cost, quality of environment, and operating costs. And really any one of these kind of inversely affects the other. So for instance, if we're gonna maybe try to save money on first cost, it could really affect the quality of the environment, or maybe even drive up operating costs. So we strongly believe being there from day one, we can work together and talk through these items and deliver a successful project for you all.
I think, Reed, maybe the most tangible example would be in-floor heat versus unit heaters or other sort of overhead radiant heat. That big difference in first cost, but big difference in the environment that it creates, and they both have impacts to the building, not only just cost. So
yeah, seriously, really understanding how the people using the building actually operate will kind of lend some solutions to which one may be better suited for which area of the building. So
similarly to that, thinking about just what that first cost is and what your criteria are in terms of how long you expect this facility to last for, or what your goals are in terms of, you know, just the robustness of it. I think there's been some suggestion that it could be precast, but, you know, we're certainly not opposed to looking at all number of different options that we've looked at, whether it's, you know, pre-engineered metal building. We've even done some post and frame cold storage buildings. You know, so these are all options just to look at, especially when you're looking at, you know, your price point, and if your priority is, you know, low cost and a lot of square footage, then that kind of drives you to a certain option. But if you're really thinking about, this is gonna be here for a long time, and we want it to be robust, and you know, the flexibility of the building maybe isn't as important, you know, then you're looking at some different solutions as well. So that's can be a decision that needs to be thought about early on, and sort of some of that criteria discussion, and it doesn't have to mean we put every, you know, ductwork and you know, outlet in there first. We can look at just some cost per square foot ideas and try to decide kind of what might be the right path.
I think we got about a minute or 30 seconds left, and then we'll wait for your questions, but you know, hopefully, if you decide to proceed with us, you know, at the end of this project, you'll not only have an extremely functional and long-lasting building that meets your needs long-term, but hopefully it has been a good experience for everyone too. I think it's important. One of our measures of success is not just, is the building done and, you know, was it on budget, but, you know, was it trouble-free? Was it a joyous experience, or was it, you know, everyone always says construction is awful to go through, but, you know, we found that through our process, it can actually be fun. So it's a once in a generation opportunity, so might as well make it a good one. Yeah, you have a lot of fun for $7 million. So that's our run through. If there are specific questions on our proposal, we'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody, any questions?
Really?
Hey, I'll ask a question. 7 million, and then it looks like there's an add-on with that. Is that correct? Am I looking at that right?
I understood the construction cost of the project was budgeted at $7 million from the county, and that permitting fees, testing, soft costs that go along with construction dollars would be above that. If I misunderstood that, we'd certainly revise our fee to what the construction value is. What's listed in our proposal, we always set our fees, our fixed fee, based on the construction value that has been approved. So if the county says we want to build something that's 7 million, then we'll set our fees off of that. But there are soft costs like permits. There's not too much furniture in this building, but there might be some equipment that goes into it. Other things are, there's usually a project contingency for unknown soil conditions, things like that. Those are usually above that 7 million or above whatever the construction cost is. So our rule of thumb is 20%. So if a county were to tell us that their construction budget is 7 million, the amount they'd bond for would be 8.4 or 120% of that construction. Or you can work it backwards and say, no, we're only gonna bond for 7, and then we know that the construction budget that we're targeting is more like 6.9. Hope that helps.
It does.
Okay.
Okay. Is the 7 million more of like the overall project budget then?
7 million to the cap right there.
Oh, okay, yeah, then it wouldn't be 6.9, it'd be closer to what, 5 point?
Oh yeah, not 6.9, I did the math wrong, right?
So our percentage fee would just be based upon approximately 80% of that 7 million, so.
And you answered that, cause that's kind of where I was thinking, so.
Okay.
Is that what your price per square foot is based off? I mean, like 80% of that 7 million, I mean, in the square footage of the building? I mean,
It's just the kind of trend that we normally see in an overall project budget. You know, if there's a huge, you know, difference there in early planning, you know, that fee could get reset. But we're really trying to say this is gonna be your construction budget, and then we're not gonna change that or our fee moving forward. The idea is to keep it fixed, but, you know, when you're looking at the cost per square foot, it depends on if you're committed to the 24,000 or if there's other needs that extend past there that might add up, and, you know, there's a lot of site work to be done potentially too that could add up to that, so you have to see what fits in there.
Any more questions, anybody? Alright. Thank you guys very much for having me out.
No problem. Thank you. We're used to doing it, so. Working up in Ashland and we're working in the Green Bay area and we're working all over the state, so driving here is actually pretty easy for us, so.
We appreciate it very much, and again, we got a lot to absorb here, so.
Understand. Best of luck. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Safe travels.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys too. Try and get to a warm place.
Yep. It's warm in the car.
I was gonna throw something else off, but. Let's see.
Yes. They might be in the hallway.
I know balloons out there, right?
Yes.
Are they, yeah, balloons are next. Anybody from Cedar? Yeah. Right up there at that table.
Right in that hot seat.
Yeah, right.
Corner here so we don't have too many people. Good evening. I'm Corey Scheidler with Cedar Corporation. I'm the Director of Architecture. I'll let Chris introduce himself.
I'm Chris Dressler. I'm the project manager that would be on the project.
Tom Kudo, supervising the county board.
Terry Ludwig, county board supervisor.
John Moore, county board also.
I'm actually the admin coordinator.
John Field, county board chairman, committee chair.
Brian Coggins, county board supervisor.
County clerk.
Livingston and Dark Mission.
I do have a presentation.
Yep, I can grab that up here.
There's a number of folks on the screen as well.
Okay, if I could borrow it.
Is there anybody from the county that is joining virtually? So in addition to our presentation, within your RFP, there was a request for alternatives on your project delivery, so we prepared an alternative for your consideration this evening.
All right. Well, I'll jump right into it. Thank you guys very much for the opportunity to propose and provide our qualifications and for taking the time here tonight to listen to us as well. Just want to jump to the next slide here. So I just kind of wanted to start out basically, we understand that you guys are looking for, 24,000 square foot, basically equipment storage, facility, heat equipment storage facility, with a, right now, total construction budget of, 7 million, for that project. So we kind of went through and we developed our scope, and then, put the schedule to that. You know, we basically looked at, for what the project is, you know, basically we look at, depending on how quickly you guys, are able to make a decision on which firm you wanna go with, we'd be available for a kickoff meeting right away. And jump right into our analysis, programming and planning, phase, where we, go through and verify, traffic studies, making sure that, traffic flow within the site, is all works best for the flow and function for, your guys' staff, keeping the employees safe and operational. And then, once we kinda get that understanding of your guys' operations, we look into doing our conceptual, design, solutions and budgets, where we come together and, take all the information that we get from programming, and put together that floor plan, making sure you have all the correct space, for all your equipment, that you want to be stored in the facility. As well as, you know, the truck wash bay, keeping that equipment cleaned up and everything. And putting together the budgets for that, to make sure that, the design is meeting the budget that you guys had set forth, early on. And then once we have, that conceptual design and budget, approved, assuming we're looking at around February of next year, we going right into, the facility design, where we kind of go through and we just make sure all the details are put together, you know, make sure all the materials, work for, you know, the longevity of the building. And then also, updating, project estimates as we go through our design to make sure that we're keeping on track with that as well. So we would start that, in March, and then look to have bidding documents ready, to go out to bid in May. And then, once we, get that bidding in, contracts and everything in July, get going and, on construction from there.
One of the things too to point out, within your RFP, you requested to go on tours of other facilities. That is a great idea. You'll gather more value from that than other studies you may have looked at or reviewed. It's always good to learn what others did right and what others did wrong. So that should be a key component, and that would happen right away, probably in the first part of January as part of this process. And some of the other details that is included in our proposal, but not necessarily in this project understanding, is the topographic survey, the geotechnical investigation. Those are things, weather permitting, we can get going on right away. Now, there is a component of wetlands on your property or associated with the project. That work will not be able to be completed until probably April, May, when things start to green up and the plants come back to life. We can get a preliminary assessment on that early on, just from desktop reviews and some geotechnical information, but the true assessment can't happen. And it's kind of nice, we have an assured delineator, one of very few in the state that's on our staff, and we can get that scheduled and hopefully get you on the schedule first thing, because as we start looking in May, we gotta have all those points dialed in to hit the schedule. That's gonna be critical to getting under construction, because if there's any issues with wetlands, or we have to reconfigure the site or make any concessions, that has to happen early in this process.
Thank you for bringing that up. You know, when we went through, we looked at some of the wetlands and everything. We didn't see a huge impact to the work area that you guys were looking at. There are some indicators in the area, but don't expect that to be too much of an issue. So that's where we were kind of a little bit more aggressive with our schedule, to kind of expedite that a little bit for you guys. And then that way, in April, May, we can get that verified and then confirm that it's not going to be an issue, and then move forward with excuse me, move forward with bidding and everything from there. So kind of just to kind of discuss our design process, as Corey kind of mentioned, we do a lot of things up front early on, and one of those things is establish project goals. We make sure we establish specific milestones that you guys and our team want to hit to keep schedules moving forward. So that is one of the big goals that we always set, is setting those milestones and making sure that we're keeping on track and hitting those dates. Along with, what exactly is the highway department looking for? Are they looking for, something that's really going to spur the next phase, and kind of be that setting stone for that next phase and everything, and kind of going through a lot of that information. But so we kind of go through, we set those milestones and schedules and project goals. And then obviously you guys have had the facility study done a while ago. So we'll take all the information that you guys have from that, and take and review that with the team to make sure that everybody's on the same page of what that study is indicating, and what our recommendations would be with that information as well. And then from there, we go into our programming and analysis, where we really kind of do a deep dive of what the operations are of Rusk County Highway. It's, while many of the things are same for many different counties and public works departments and utility departments, however, every department works a little bit differently too. So we want to make sure we understand how you guys operate, how you want to operate, and make sure that we're meeting those goals. So that's where we kind of go through that program and analysis, and then excuse me. And then from that, we pull all that information together, pull together the site, concept, site and building design, and then we update that budget, and look at the construction schedule, make sure we're kind of keeping in line with that as well. And then basically we get the final approvals of that conceptual design. Then we move into final documentation and design, where we put together those bidding documents. And then from there, obviously we're going to bidding, and then we assist you guys with developing the contract, and excuse me, and moving into construction, and reviewing all the pay applications, along with shop drawings and different things like that, to make sure that you guys are getting what you're paying for.
A couple of things with our design process that I think we do very well is we have two people involved in all projects. So you have your primary point of contact, and then you would have a secondary point of contact. People take vacations, people have other projects, so we always have a secondary contact. And then in that design process, some of the things that we're gonna be doing is actually meeting with the folks that are gonna be maybe the operators, maybe custodial staff, managers, department heads, supervisors, the road supes, the foremans. We wanna know what their daily operations are. We wanna know what the equipment's going out. We wanna know what your plow beats are. we wanna try to understand everything about your operation. We're gonna actually mark out locations, perhaps in the pavement, sometimes we use paint lines, whatever, make it simple. Let's put the trucks in, are you running dual wings, single wings, underbellies, how is this gonna be stored? Do we need to put embed plates in the wall so we can put racking up in the future? All these little details, all the firms here that you've interviewed probably do a great job for you. It's the 90% isn't the 10% of the details, and we feel that's what we do really well based on our experience with other municipal projects and governmental projects like this, so. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so, as I kind of mentioned before, we kind of looked at, where the wetlands are mapped at, where, indicators are showing up. You know, we also looked at shoreline, zoning ordinance and how that, would affect, your guys' project. So we kind of took those all into consideration as we were looking at your guys' project. You know, and based on, what we, reviewed, we don't see a huge impact to you guys' site, where we would be, doing any land disturbance or facility, layouts and everything. So we think, you know, we're the position of the site is in pretty good, condition. You know, and then also, you know, we kind of look at how is traffic gonna flow, how is it going to, work, you know, while you guys are operating, during construction and everything like that as well. So we kind of looked at, you know, how that flow and function would happen, just to make sure that that wasn't going to impede, the regular operations. As well as, you know, kind of looking at, you know, the future, for your next phase, how that's going to impact, you know, where we place this building, how is that flow going to work, in the future for you guys. So we really wanted to take that holistic look at everything and make sure that, everything was the way that you guys, need it to be.
One of the things, and I always use the analogy, you know, let's peel the onion back, let's take a look at this. This is gonna be here hopefully for 50 to 75, maybe 100 years. So we have one opportunity to do it correct. So spending a little bit of time up front, going through that study that you've already completed, analyzing this, understanding that flow, and starting to project out what's 25 years, what's 50 years. Yeah, it's crystal ball, but we have to start thinking about that because it's going to impact this project and it's gonna impact the county for the next 50 to 100 years. And we wanna try to put some due diligence into that. And that's what we've included in our scope of services that you have in your proposal.
Good, next slide. So as we kind of look at, placements of the building and as well as, size of the building, you know, we wanna make sure we maximize, your guys' budget to get you the most, you know, overall square footage out of this project at the least amount of cost, with the highest quality as well. Along with that, we kind of looked at, you know, at a 24,000 square foot facility that you guys are looking at. If we went with, you know, rectangular, which was kind of in those early concepts, from the study, you know, we're looking at, you know, 24,000 square foot, surface area. We got, 68,000, square foot of surface area. By essentially just changing the dimensions, instead of making it rectangular, making it more of a square, type facility, we cut down on that surface area of the walls and the roofs and everything, not necessarily the roofs, but of the walls and the perimeters, which ends up costing less because you're building less wall, as well as the energy efficiency that goes into that. You have less exposed, exterior wall that's going to, cost you more in operations in terms of heating, cooling, and that sort of thing.
We use this analysis on all of our projects, and it has an impact on the building systems, mechanical, electrical, all the way through the site design. And it has to function properly for the equipment and the operators, but here's just a little bit about our design process, and Chris has talked a little bit about this, but again, this has the opportunity to have an impact on the county moving forward, not only from operational standpoint and functionality, but your employment and retention, employee morale, and keeping people within the county long term. There's a lot of money that's invested into training staff, and this facility that we're looking at has the opportunity to have an impact on that and really help the county out long term. So it's a big deal. It's not just a storage shed, if you will. Go to the next one. Here are a few examples of projects that we've worked on. These are included in your proposal, or in the proposal that we provided you. But as you can see, here are 6 projects just to show a representation of our experience and our knowledge. We have the ability, we have the expertise, we have the knowledge to do your project. The photo here is a snapshot from a recent highway project that we completed. So if we can go to the next one, please. And then why Cedar?
Yeah, so, why Cedar, you know, other than, you know, our previous experience, you know, the other things that, you know, I wanted to, you know, kind of touch base on is, you know, I mentioned before the early cost estimating, and accurate, cost estimating. We've worked on many of these different buildings that, we know what these, materials cost and what it takes contractors to do this work. So we're able to really, provide that accurate, cost estimating early and consistently throughout the whole design. As well as, you know, a lot of firms, don't necessarily do a whole lot of, governmental work, but that is one thing that Cedar, is, I don't know, what would you say, probably?
We are expert in governmental architecture and engineering. That's what we do, that's who we are. 50 years in 2025.
And then along with that, we have a multidisciplinary team, meaning that we have the site civil, engineers, stormwater engineers, environmental, as Corey mentioned earlier, we have an assured wetland delineator on staff. You know, we have, architects, structural engineers, all of that in-house. The only thing that we don't have in-house is the mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer. We work with, Apex Engineering. We've done hundreds of projects with them, and have come together as a very big team, that functions as if they were in our own house. Excuse me. And then we always, commit, research and development. You know, a lot of times, we'll sit down with our clients after, project is completed and say, what's working, what's not working, you know, how can we do this better? And we take all that information and we bring it to the next project. So we're bringing all that, research as we have implemented in, previous designs, and we're you know, making sure it's gonna work for you guys. And then, you know, we talked about our design process. Our design process has been proven over and over again, and feel that that's gonna be the best fit for you guys, in this project. And then, the other thing, the last main thing I wanna leave you with is, our client-centric approach. We make sure that it's all about the relationships that we develop with you guys. And we wanna make sure that, you know, you guys come to us, you know, with your next project, and it's, you know, a no-brainer for you guys just to come and talk with us, and we make sure that, you guys are getting the best project, and best facility for you.
90% of our work is repeat clients, and that's a key component to our success, and that's why we strive to do a great job for all of our clients. So, with being mindful of your time, this evening, we did present you an alternative, and I just want to take a quick moment to talk about that. So the process that we outlined in our proposal and what we have, presented here this evening is what we would typically provide. Now, we know not everybody wants this approach or that approach, and we wanna make sure we refine that and give you exactly, or give the county exactly what you're looking for. So what we did is we went back through the RFP and said, okay, how can we minimize, what could we do different? Because maybe you don't want all those services that we provide, maybe you don't want all that evaluation and master planning. So what you have in front of you is an alternative that allows you to take that path. And we just wanted to offer that up for your consideration, something to consider. And this is, we included a revised scope that outlines what that might look like. It is a little bit less on the design side, again, without that master planning and that forward look. And then we also did a reduction in the contract administration hours. We would still be available virtually. We like to be on the site, we like to be in person, we wanna put our hands on it, we wanna see what's going on, we feel that's important. But as our client, maybe that's not what you want us there for, or want us doing, so we offer that opportunity for you to consider this. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have a question. Alright, so you had talked about in, the design part of that, where we were looking initially at possibly a rectangular shaped building, and then you thought that possibly a square building would take up less space, basically, or it would be a smaller footprint, whatever. And then you also, I think, if I remember right, you mentioned something about, efficiency as far as heating, et cetera. But when I was looking at this confused me, because I was looking at it actually, like on the rectangular one, like the ends were like 100 and some feet, and when you went to the square, it was like 200 feet. So, I mean, isn't it gonna be about the same?
It is close, but it can make a difference of, sometimes up to 10%, depending how we configure the space. The other thing we can look at, especially when you come to highway shops, is if we're going double drive aisles and parking in the middle, and then we would just have the exterior walls that you'd be parking against, so you'd have twin drive aisles. You have 2 additional doors, it's not as long, but what it allows us to do is with different size equipment, one bay can be shorter than the other, or shallower than the other. So you might have several patrol trucks. Now, if those patrol trucks are singles or tandems, the tris and quads can be parked over here, graders and loaders can be parked over here. Another thing we've done in those type of facilities is we'll pull the brine equipment and put that into a corner and close it, so you're not going to another building for that as well. So, but yeah, it's usually an adjustment of about 10% or so in wall area. So wall area is construction materials and then long-term efficiency and maintenance.
But then plus probably looking at like 2 extra doors, right?
Yes, it can be 2 extra doors, yeah. So, depending if you configure with 2 drive aisles like that.
Alright, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
Well,
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity and look forward to hearing back from the committee.
Yeah, I'm sorry we're so quiet, we just got a lot.
Oh.
Got a few more to go yet.
You got a marathon in front of you. You started at 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
I've sat in on the interview panels and we're trying to jump through this stuff as quick as possible. We always got a lot to say, but I've never done that. It's a rough day. So. No, I don't know if we mentioned, it's in our proposal, but we're located in Menominee. I'm actually down by Chippewa Falls, so it's about an hour up here for me. It's an hour and a half, just shy of an hour and a half from Menominee, so it's a quick drive up here for us. So it'd be a great project for Cedar Corporation, and we hope to hear back from you. So thank you.
Thank you. That was good, thank you. Safe trip back.
Yeah, thanks. Roads are pretty good too. So.
Very much.
Ms. Bloom?
Thank you.
Were you recording everything?
You can come up to that table right there.
Over there? Sounds good.
front and center.
Oh, right here.
Yep.
So it's been a long day. Holy cow. Let's see, do you wanna hand it? I figured at the end of the day, you probably needed a treat.
Oh, sounds good, thank you.
You don't have to admit to it. Okay.
I'm good, how are you? Good to see you.
Save it for later. I can only imagine what you've been through, having to listen to all these architects for all this time.
I'll start with the introductions. Tom Kluger, County Board Supervisor.
Terry Wedrick, County Board Supervisor.
John Moore, County Supervisor.
I'm Ashley, the administrative coordinator.
John Gale, Conrad, Administrator.
Brian Cummings, County Board Supervisor.
Hi, I'm Gary Hay with Hay Dobbs. Nice to meet you after trading a few emails.
You too.
I'm Dan Saban with KFI, mechanical engineer.
Yeah, so, I think I explained, somewhere that, we're with balloon companies out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They have multiple offices around, the state. They have 2 offices in the Twin Cities area, one in Minneapolis, which is primarily engineering, highway construction, things like that. And then in St. Paul, they recently acquired Hay Dobbs. I'm Gary Hay, I'm the founder of Hay Dobbs. We're a 31-year old architecture firm. The firm is 31, I'm not. But anyway, that kind of just gives you a little bit of background on how we got to be Hay Dobbs. So one of the things when you go through our RFP, I want you to know that I wrote the RFP. I responded to the questions, not our marketing group. Once we get started on this project, you're gonna see me at every meeting that we have here. We have online meetings. I'm gonna be the one that's leading those meetings. It was a couple of weeks ago and Justin was gracious enough to give me a tour of the facility and, you know, share some thoughts on what you all have been thinking about. And so, Dan is our mechanical engineer. The mechanical portion of the project is critical to the success, the longevity, the maintenance of the project. And so, Dan's gonna be leading that effort and he'll be here for all the meetings as well. So, yes, we do have a whole support network of drafters and things like that, but you're gonna actually, you know, see us. We're gonna be the main people here. So, we didn't bring a big PowerPoint presentation. This is really about you. This is about your project and what we're gonna do for you, not what we've done for other people. But we're gonna bring that 30+ years of experience to your project and make sure that what we do is tailored to the specific counties, to the specific needs of the county. So one of the, I think, when I corresponded with Ashley a little bit, was really about, you know, what all did you want to touch on? And so, and part of that was, that discussion is really to touch on our fee. And so, we also want to be able to, you know,
open this up so that you can ask questions to us. So on the back of the sheet here, the front is really just images of other projects that we have done. Those are all part of our RFP and our RFQ. And so one of the things that we look at, so we broke the fee out into 3 different pieces, really kind of as you asked. The preliminary design, the detailed design, and the construction phase. So the way those fees break out is that in the preliminary design, we've allocated about a month to kick off the project. And so I've been in touch with, I think it's John Fritz, and tried to get a handle on the information that's available on the site today. Site surveys, any geotechnical information that'll help us design the building. There's actually very little of that information available. So once we would dig in and we'd see what's available in that first month, we would order surveys. We'd hold on to geotechnical for a little bit till we know what we're doing. But the survey information and really understanding what's buildable in the site is critical. The next piece to the project, and they all kind of, lead together, but the next real piece of the project is really sitting down, working with you, and figuring out what's your vision, and more importantly, in that vision, what's the future hold? We don't want to design a building and give you a great building that sits on the site, but doesn't take into account the next 10, 20, 30 years. You've got a substantial site, there's plenty of room, you've got a lot of buildings on that site, and some of those buildings could use a little help, if not just disappear. And so, how do we take advantage of, so like in the 2 small sheds, if we move all the pickup trucks and the vehicles out of those sheds, then what happens to those sheds? Bottom line is, let's plan for the future. Let's understand where the building goes, where the maintenance piece goes, where the office piece goes. But let's think outside the box beyond that. Part of the questions that came out during the process spoke to ambulance storage in the forestry building. So, what else is there? So let's get that planned, and then at the same time, let's figure out what the building is, and so when I say that, it's like, how many vehicles are we gonna put in there? Are we gonna put other pieces of, like the brine tanks? What other storage components could be in those buildings? So let's get all that planned as, in the next couple months. And then at that point, we should be able to go to the county board. We should be able to get signed off on a master plan, a program, and a pretty solid budget for what the whole thing is gonna cost. So not only the first phase, which is a storage building, but subsequent phases. And we can use some escalation numbers to help you project out and help you plan those phases. One of the pieces during that time, and I want Dan just to address some of the thinking. So it's not only about the site planning, master planning, but it's looking at maintenance and life cycle costs of systems that we employ in the building. You wanna touch on that a little bit?
Sure, and you mentioned that alternative fuels weren't consideration, at least at this point. But in the future, you're planning to tear down and add an admin section to this new building. You may wanna consider charging stations, locations of charging stations. At this point, as part of planning, it'd be easy enough to run some conduit runs to a potential charging location, so you're not tearing up your site when you go ahead and do the admin part. I mean, your maintenance vehicles will probably always be fossil fuels, that sort of thing, but you may have a need for some charging stations with your admin staff.
Yeah, so that along with, how do we heat and cool the building, we're assuming today the building probably isn't, if you will, cooled, but we are gonna have those ventilation requirements. So looking at the intake and the locations of those and how we can use cooler air rather than warmer air and how we can control the humidity. But all those systems will be, looked at in the very first phase. So when we get to the end of the preliminary design, we're gonna have a very solid foundation, if you will, to move forward into detailed design. So we've allocated about $35,000 for that initial phase, which is the first 3 months of the project. And then the detailed design really goes into the nuts and bolts. How do you really put this thing together? How do you construct it? One of the other pieces that's going to be a part of that initial preliminary design is we haven't really talked about in the RFQ about delivery. I'm not sure what you've thought about in terms of, a construction manager as advisor or at risk, design build, design bid build. But those are decisions that will help inform the detailed design phase. One of the things in the detailed design, so, without going into it, but it's really the nuts and bolts about how we put the architectural, the mechanical, electrical, the civil, the stormwater, all those components of the site get put together in that phase so that we can go out to bid for the project. Right now, our fee is based on a 24,000 square foot building, $7 million budget. Let's say as we start to look forward a little bit, let's say that building creeps up and gets a little bit bigger. Maybe it grows by 25%, 30%. I don't see our fee changing. I mean, we're essentially talking about the same building. If we get that figured out in the initial phase, in the preliminary design phase, our fees are gonna remain pretty much the same. If we get all the way through detailed design and we decide, we really need to make this 30% bigger, then we have to go back and change drawings. And that's why that preliminary design phase is so important to the process. And we've got 2 months allocated to the detailed design phase. So our whole design phase really is about 5 months long, from when we have the initial kickoff to when we're ready to bring this to the board, get it approved, and then go out to bid. The construction timeframe, there's no reason for a building like this to take more than 10 or 12 months. The unfortunate thing is that we never know these days, about supply chain issues. So if we end up with a precast concrete building, we don't know what the lead times are on precast today. I can tell you that we just constructed a building and the lead times on precast was 6 months. We were amazed at that, meaning that it was really quick. Because 2 years ago, we were looking at it anywhere from 12 to 16 months for lead time, and it usually stretched more to the 16 months. And so that would have a huge impact on the construction time frame. But we can look at that during that preliminary design process and say, look, here's the lead times on a pre-engineered steel building, a precast building, here's the pros and cons of each one of those phases, each one of those construction types. Other pieces, for a site this size, I mean, it's purely an estimate at this point, but we should be able to do a site survey with topography and including wetland mapping for about $14,000. They figured once we know where the building is, we're probably gonna wanna punch about 10 soil borings in the site so we can get a good picture of what the cross-section is through the pavement as well as the foundations. Not only of the first phase building, but also if we relocate and we build a new maintenance building and admin building, we're gonna wanna know in advance. To the extent that we can do all the soil correction if it's needed in the first phase, it would be an advantage to have the site ready for subsequent phases. So we're looking really at being able to, start next week. We're available. I can be here on the 18th. And we're projecting that you could have the building commission, go through substantial completion, and move in July or August of 26. So, any questions? You've gone through a lot of things today, heard a lot of stories. You've probably seen a lot of great pictures. I think that the one thing that I really do want to emphasize, because as architects, we always get that same thing. Oh, you guys just sent the sales team out here. We're not the sales team. We're the guys that roll up our sleeves, take out the tracing paper and make sketches with you to get this thing done. And so, you're looking at the designer, the project manager, not the CAD guy. But I direct that work, and I'm gonna be your day-to-day contact. Our service is 100% personalized. We draw on the years of experience that we bring to a project, but we're gonna be here for you. It's your project. You will never hear us say, oh, but this is what we did someplace else and we think it would fit here. No, we're gonna give you options about things, and we're gonna work through the numbers. And I think I said in the proposal that we're gonna provide you so much information. We're gonna be so transparent about what we're doing, and we're gonna set up an engagement process. So when we get the county board involved and we have to get to those, final decision makers, it's not, gosh, do you think they'll approve this? It's like, we know it's a done deal because we've given them the information that they need to make a decision. So, I put a little quote on here from Len Simich, the former CEO of Southwest Transit. We did a new bus storage facility, maintenance facility, and corporate office all in one, so we could consolidate all their operations, all their administrative pieces into one location. And Len has retired. He's working on another as a consultant. He just brought us in. I said, Len, why are you getting us involved with all the people you've worked with? He said, because you get things done. Another quote I like to use is from Cindy Holm, former facility person at Southwest Minnesota State University, that you'll see in proposals from us that Cindy said, Hey Dobbs is the first architect that we've hired that actually listened to us. And so we're really proud of those things, and that's the level of service, that's the level of commitment that we bring to you. And that's, we think that, we've got a good, in our minds, almost an aggressive fee, but it's really tailored on giving you all the best service and the service that you deserve for such an important building that really represents all your constituents within the county. So with that, any questions?
Any questions?
I have a comment.
Okay.
So, we've listened to a lot of people this evening so far. If I've got this right, I think we have one left yet. I found it interesting that, and I know what it said on the RFP, but I found it interesting that the majority of the people that we heard based their quote on a $7 million figure. And I guess, and this is my personal feeling, my comment. I guess that if I were a firm that was looking to snag a job or something like this, I think I would look at saying, hey, you know what? They got 7 million, but I think we can do this for 6. Let's present our presentation with a 6 million figure. That's all.
Yeah.
I just had to,
No, I would just say that I think that, that's a good point. Similar to the comment, if we end up, let's just say, with a $10 million building, if we know that in advance, our fee isn't gonna change. I think that the whole preliminary planning process is based on understanding what you need. So the RFQ, basically said, base your fees on a $7 million building. That's where that number comes from. But I don't think that we feel obligated to spend $7 million for it. If we can do it for less, we'll do it for less.
It'll give you more building than you're planning for. That's where the 24,000 square feet versus, if you can get more square footage for that money, building can be bigger.
And that's just a matter of moving lines and figuring out what fits best, as far as functionality wise.
Kind of.
I get what you're saying. The other gentleman previous to you guys said the same thing. I understood that. I think you understood that too, didn't you, Tom? You can shift things around so you can get more building for the buck, so to speak, or less.
I don't know if it was necessarily more.
I don't, and I understood what you were saying at the end of that too, but I don't know if you got that, whatever, here or there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's the building, there's the functionality, if you will. Let's just say, a very minimum baseline is, let's be able to plan for what future vehicles we're gonna have. Let's not have to take off the snowplow every night, put it on, every morning.
We do now.
Yep, exactly. And that kind of functionality, but when it comes to overall life cycle costs, so when you look at, what are things that you could do to reduce life cycle costs? Well, there's things I'm sure you've seen in some of the images, clear story windows, windows up high and low to get light into the facility, right? We also use solar tubes, which are UV light tubes that come through the top, and what those do is that gets light into the middle of the building rather than just around the perimeter. So when you're, so if you've got a truck in there, you've got a window up high, everything around it is going to be dark. So if you put a tube in the middle of the building to disperse light, that's going to give you light directly over the vehicle as well. In-floor heating will keep the floor dry. The dry floor is also a safer floor and allows you to maintain things quicker. So there's, I think it's really, I think you raise a good point. The question is, what's the program? And that's why we have outlined, and let's understand the site, let's understand what the capacity of the site is, and then let's figure out what the overall program is and then how that translates into costs.
Alrighty. Everybody kinda good? Got a lot to soak in.
You sure do.
We got one left.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for dragging all over here.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity and,
Must be kinda short, but.
if it was any longer, you just have to listen to more of the same thing. Yeah, well, we would certainly welcome the opportunity, and so thank you for giving us the opportunity to come out and present. Appreciate it.
We'll be in touch.
Yep, good deal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Yeah,
treat.
thank you. Yeah, oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for
Hopefully
first-
that'll help get you
first
through the
share.
next one. Yeah. Good to see you again.
Safe travel.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
You bet. You too. Northwest. Howdy. Last but least, right? You had the shortest drive.
I did, yeah. That's probably why I got scheduled that way, huh?
It was a random draw, I swear it.
It was fine, I only got like a 20-minute drive, so. Here's my card. Daryl Olson with Northwest Builders. I guess I can just start by giving a little introduction about myself, so. I got Brandon Grease, the architect, with us as well, joined virtually. I think Chris Molanek, who's one of the owners with me at Northwest, was on vacation, so he couldn't quite make it. But yeah, so little introduction. We're kind of proposing something different than kind of what you've probably seen in the last 8 or 9 presentations. We're a general contractor. We do design build. Pretty much 90% of our work is, and we self-perform most of our concrete, steel erection, carpentry stuff too. We do, I'd probably say around 90% of our own drafting and designing on certain projects of this scope. We do hire architects to help out with the drafting and design and spec work and stuff like that. So that's why we have Grease partnered up with us, who I have a good history with and successful projects. So a little bit about myself. Northwest Builders, I've been there for about 12 years, owner for 8. Established in 1970, so been around quite a while and work generally within Northwest Wisconsin. So Barron up to Superior, down to Eau Claire, we get over this way, Park Falls, Phillips, some, and over to the Minnesota border. So this is kind of right in our wheelhouse, and this building is pretty much what we do. But only difference is we do a lot of private work versus public work. So I'd say we do maybe 10% public work jobs, and that's just because we don't tend to get into a lot of school work and stuff like that. But this highway shop stuff we do bid on, and do a lot of town shops and stuff like that. So smaller scale in the public sphere, but we do as big of buildings as they make. So it's not anything daunting by any means. Yeah, so I'll let Brandon kind of give you his background just so you can go from there and his firm.
Daryl, thank you. Brandon Grease Architectural. Our firm, again, we've been around for 40 years now, and it was my dad's firm that I took over about 10 years ago, and we have a staff of about 12, including 3 based in Hudson, so we'd be running this out of our Hudson office. Daryl and Northwest Builder Group and us have been connected on a lot of projects we do a lot of automotive and public works buildings. So I think we got introduced on Don Johnson's Ford Chrysler building over in Cumberland and have done many projects since. So this project type fits in our wheelhouse. We're comfortable working in the design build aspect. But in order to complete all the tasks of the RFP, we're still proposing full design and engineering of this building, and we'd be going through the same steps as all the other firms. You know, we'd be starting off with the programming and working schematic design, design development, construction documents. So that would be full architectural, civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So you'd be getting all the services, just like any other firm. The benefit that we have here is teaming up with the contractor early on is we get pricing as we go through the stages. So at the end of each phase, we can get updated pricing. So if we get through schematic design and figure out, hey, you know, we're tracking in real dollars at a $5 million project, we can take that opportunity to say, okay, do we want to increase the size of this building to hit the $7 million budget, or do we want to take that $2 million savings? It's imperative that, you know, we don't get to the end or the finish line and we're way off on dollars, either over or below where you could have added scope, or we had opportunity to take that scope out. So when Daryl and I first talked about this project, that's why we're presenting this way. I know it's a little bit different from what you've seen tonight.
Yeah, so the benefits are, like he talks about, you know, from a construction management, you know, we really do look at value engineering and cost control, and with us doing all the erection, we understand what's, you know, it's not just based on a square foot building and this tall, it's how things fit together and the constructability of it all, so we can get a lot of pointers there. We are a Butler manufactured pre-engineered builder. We've been one since 2006, and we were with some other builder or engineered building systems before that since the 70s. We're a small firm, we have 50 employees, but we, like I said, we can do really big things. We won Builder of the Year for Butler Building Systems in 2008, so I mean, we understand pre-engineered buildings. You know, there's talk about maybe guys wanting to do some sort of precast or something like that, or a hybrid of pre-engineered building and precast. You know, maybe to get the benefits of both. You know, construction of a pre-engineered building, but precast tilt-up walls. You know, those are all things we can design and work with Butler Building Systems, even if that's not the building you end up with, to kind of design those things up front and how everything else ties in with the mechanical, electrical. So, you know, teaming up with us, we're gonna be, like I said, we have a background in design. We do design our own building, so it's not just gonna be handing it off to Brandon and he's gonna run the show. We're gonna be heavily involved in that design process. That's what we do in any public or private sector jobs. So when we say design build, we are a design builder. We design it, but the architect will just hand it off. Other things is, you know, we're not gonna just give you square foot numbers and say, you know, this is kind of where it should come in at. We're gonna give you real world examples and you know, run models on how things cost. So I know we've kind of provided budgeting on this project in the past, and it's something we're probably, you know, completely different on dollars that was proposed versus the 7 million. So there's, in my opinion, there's, you know, we can make this building super fancy and spend $7 million, or, you know, is it more of a $5 million project, which is super attainable in my mind. So, you know, $7 million at, I think it's 24,000 square feet, is upwards of $290 a square foot. You know, that gets into, in my opinion, kind of crazy level for what kind of building we're talking about. So that's kind of the difference. Hopefully we're, you know, I know where we live, you know, the subcontractors, we know the area, we know how it works. We can design for, you know, Rusk County, Barron County, this area, we understand it, and it's not, I don't think we're designing for Hennepin County or Madison, in my opinion. So hopefully that local local knowledge and local subcontractors and stuff like that. You get a local presence and price brought to this building. You know, yeah, always our goal is to keep project costs down, and you know, our fees are, we proposed a fixed price fee for upfront design costs. You can see in there for we listed our proposal $282,000 and some change for architectural, structural, civil, MEP, survey, geotechnical exploration. So that's a large value up front. You can see our fixed price is $8,800, so pretty minimal for the value I think that we can bring to the table. But you're kind of signing up for us through construction, and hopefully we're that construction manager and bidding it out to other subcontractors to perform the pre-engineered building, the concrete, MEPs, that kind of stuff, and hopefully at the end of it, it's Northwest Builders gets to design it, bid it, and build it. But that's gonna be the trifecta, I guess. And on top of that, we presented a 5% construction management plus labor hours for project management. That fee is pretty minimal compared to the private sector work that we do all the time. So people might sell you on a different fee, and I didn't listen to everyone's proposals tonight, but I'm sure you heard fee percentages and this and that. But that's all negotiable once we kind of figure out what the building design is. Are we looking at a $3 million shell, or are we looking at a $7 million pre-gas building with every type of MEP equipment in there, cranes, you name it? So I guess that's kind of negotiable in that part. And if it's something you want to get to a fixed price, that's something we can definitely work out and discuss at further meetings. So I guess why Northwest Builders, we kind of talked about the cost already. We're construction experts, we're local. I got a 20-minute drive home. Our main estimator lives here in Ladysmith. Project manager, who probably would be servicing the construction end of it, lives in Holcomb. So you get either Chris or myself based on timing and availability to help you through the pre-construction, and then get handed off as soon as we kind of get things dialed in as far as the building. I'd say 25-30% of the design work done, and we start bringing in the project manager to those meetings, so they're involved up front and you can see it seamless through to construction. Other than that, Brandon, if you got anything to add, take questions or?
Take any questions.
Any questions? I'm gonna tell you, like I've been telling everybody, we've been kind of overloaded, so if we're pretty quiet on questions, you have to understand why.
No, it's a lot of information to
There's a lot to
digest.
take in here.
What is that square foot, price, on the average building like this, not just a shell, but is it around 200,000 or is it?
So I mean,
250, a square foot or what?
So on something like this, I mean, if you go to the one that Barron County did, it's probably up there. I mean, that's crazy in my opinion, but I mean, that's a big building, it has a lot of things going on in it. If we're looking at just a pre-engineered building, it could be, on this size of building, it could be somewhere within, $100, $150 a square foot. So that's a significant price difference, and trying to wrap our heads around for this request for proposal is.
What kind of lifetime would you have on a building like that at that 150?
We're still providing if it's a pre-engineered building, it's gonna outlive any one of us here, so, you're gonna get a steel roof. If it's a Butler building, which I can sell you on, because I can talk hours about it, that roof's gonna be 40, 50 years good for, and we've seen them last 70, so. It's got steel wall panels on it, it's gonna, again, outlive us all. If we go to precast walls or something like that, still, I mean, that price point, you're still getting a building that, every private sector around here pretty much builds, and it's because it's a good cost point, good business decision, and it is a good investment, because it does, there's not anything to worry about long term, so.
I had one clarifying question, so there, in your proposal, there are 2 fee proposals, one for you guys and one for the Grease. Is it yours plus theirs, or?
Yeah, so it'd be us plus theirs, for the total, for the fixed price, and I just kinda wanted to highlight, you know, what Northwest Builders is, bringing to the table, and kinda split that out just for reference.
Any other questions?
Throw your curveball right at the end.
Well, we appreciate the time and
Yeah.
everything for coming over, and, like I said, there's my stack.
Appreciate it, you guys, if you guys got any questions, just, let us know, and hopefully we hear from you guys soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, safe drives back.
Well, I think it would be prudent to have a discussion to see if there are any that you wouldn't want to see again.
Oh, absolutely, where do you wanna start?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm honest.
Huh?
Dimension?
You didn't like them?
You didn't like who?
Dimension.
Oh, I
that
like,
wasn't I like CUNY.
I liked CUNY as well. They're on my.
I like
They were my top.
I like Kenny too.
They were mine once as well.
I circled Kenyon, or Kenny, whatever,
CUNY.
ADCI, and Wold.
Alright, so on CUNY, I got a little information on them. They do great work, but they're a lot of hands-off, they're a cookie cutter, low communication firm. So, if you want more hands-on, you gotta bring up another one.
Was that the one that he says they visit the site every 3-4 weeks? Or which one was that?
He said, he was the one where he said he believes what we were asking for was more in the $6.2 million range.
Correct. But who was the one that, one of the guys says that, they don't come to the site but every couple weeks? River Valley?
No, that's fine. That's okay. Well, and just also remember that this is not the construction manager, this is the architect, so it's a little bit different in terms of that. Yeah, Northwest is proposing to be the construction manager and oversee Grease, who would design it.
Well, they farm out, everything. That's where basically hooked it up.
Yeah, it sounded like it,
If I'm
they
understanding that right,
subcontracted a lot of it.
concrete and everything involved.
I like Wold because it was full service, one stop shop, they had everything in-house.
I liked Wold. I mean, I'm not gonna.
I mean, they didn't farm out like, or, you know, it was all right there. I thought Cedar was okay. You didn't like them, huh?
No. I gotta be honest, the last 4, I have to say, maybe the last 4,
That was Wold.
okay, other than Wold.
Walden's number 7.
But from that point on, it just went downhill for me. That's just my opinion though.
No, I get it.
Okay, well, there seems to be consensus that we'd like to hear back from CUNY. Is that, anyone disagree with that?
Which one?
CUNY?
Oh,
Other than the.
Oh, no, it wasn't a complaint, it wasn't a complaint at all. I'm just informing you that it's, they're less hands-on, more cookie cutter, and they do good work though, so.
Right.
That's the information I got. Another one to consider would be Barrientos. They're a little on the higher end. They're very hands-on, and they have Ayers on there. Ayers is a good firm to deal with. They've done a lot. A lot of buildings.
And we could talk to Kurt Gorsinger on that because he worked with them, so I mean, he's gonna have some first-hand knowledge on that. Barrientos, they redid the armory, and that is, you know,
He was the very first one.
that's a city shop for their maintenance, their public works department.
What did you guys think of Cedar?
I kinda liked Cedar.
John didn't.
So-
I like Cedar.
So Cedar's got a fair amount of public works dealing with this. I mean, there's a few of these here, a little more than a few that have not a lot of experience in this kind of building.
Right.
So Cedar has a fair amount of this work done for these types of buildings, so that's what I got for that.
Well, if you go by the flat fee proposal at all, I mean, what do you think of Samuel's group team? We've been working with them guys for ages.
There's some synergy that would come with going with them. Meaning, they've already done some legwork, they know what they're up against there. They know how we function as a county. But that being said, I know that there's a number of people on the board that are not pro Samuel's people. I don't know that they would, if they would approve it.
I prefer not to put all my eggs in one basket.
There's that argument.
I was thinking the same thing, so. You make a good point.
I'd rather put it up, even though you.
But I'm wondering if like.
I'm not advocating for them, I'm more playing devil's advocate.
No, I understand totally, yeah, and I think you're right about the people on the board. May be not, not as happy.
Enthusiastic about it.
But then again, that could be because of the high price tag of the jail too, where this is a different situation here.
Right, and I think everybody might have bad taste from last year, but I think we as a committee have kind of roped that in and put down the groundwork of where we wanna start now, and now we're coming back with a two-building proposal at the same price the jail was in the first time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we have selling points.
But it's still 40 million, and that part scares me with, I mean, it was my idea, I think, to begin with, to combine these things. But after thinking about it, I mean, if one gets shot down, they both get shot down. I wonder if, cause I really think this project would pass far quicker than the jail project itself.
Absolutely.
So, maybe we should separate them again, I don't know. I'd hate to see both of them go down the tubes, and we need them both, but I'd hate to see them both go down the tubes because of the big price of the jail.
But the thing of it is, if we come back to the table and we need the jail down the future line here, we just screwed ourselves by going with one building versus two. Possibly.
It's possible.
So we have to keep that in
Or
mind.
we gamble and well, of course, if they both get shot down, I guess we can go back to the table and separate them.
Correct. I think that's a legit way of saying that, is going that route.
I'm just wondering too, considering that, the budget issues that we had for this year, people might not be receptive with that 40 mil price tag.
It's either spend it now or spend it later, and be twice as much. You gotta
It's
think.
probably not 40 million now either, it's probably 42, 43 million with the inflation and everything else, cause those numbers are
Either
done
way,
a
we're
year
not
ago.
taking away from it.
No, we're
Whether it's
not.
us or whether it's anybody else. I agree, we need the highway shop probably the most of any of the two buildings. I mean, some people may disagree with that, but not in my opinion, because that highway shop is the one that takes care of our roads, everything involved in it.
When you consider the cost of the equipment,
Yeah, I know, I sit on that department. $330,000 or $380,000 per truck.
I hate to be a buzzkill, but
So
the
if
jail
we-
isn't on the agenda.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just saying, this is turning into a jail highway thing, and that's not on the agenda, so I don't wanna
Yeah.
kill your buzz, but
I agree.
I'm sorry, but if the jail isn't on the agenda.
It isn't.
Right, it isn't.
I don't know if we necessarily have to make a decision though tonight, do we?
We should
I
have a
think- I think you
recommendation.
Are we gonna recommend to the full board
Oh, so you wanna
next
push
week?
this-
You,
wanna
you
push
don't,
this to
you
the
don't
board?
have to, it would be prudent to keep the ball moving, because if you don't do anything tonight, if you keep it to 10 companies tonight, then we're just dragging our feet. So it would be prudent to at least narrow a list
If we
down.
presented something on the 18th, possibly, we could have something in play by January.
Okay, my personal opinion is I like Wolf.
Okay, and then you don't have to just recommend one to the board, you could invite, let's say we can narrow it down to the top 3, you could invite the top 3 back to give a more in-depth presentation to the full board.
I got 3.
Or whatever that number is.
How about Barrientos, Cooney and Wold?
Okay, I'll go with that.
Say that one again?
Barrientos.
Yeah.
Cooney and Wold.
I got 2 out of them 3 circled.
Instead of Wold, you guys wanna consider Cedar.
I like Cedar.
I like
So-
Cedar better than Wolf.
The reason I bring that up is cause I got some numbers, St. Croix County, Dunn County, Eau Claire County, Polk County that they've done work for. Got four names, 3 numbers, I can get the other number, no problem, I could reach out to them and see what their experience was, and then have that option.
What they built?
One of them they built the office space for the shop, another one they built the shop. I guess the other 2 I can't remember, but it had to do with highway department.
See, my question would be to them is if they built the shop for them, did they come in under budget or over budget? Where did they come in? How long did it take? What kind of a rigmarole did it go to get it? You know, these are all questions, yes, we have to ask.
Yeah. You have to ask everyone.
And what I'm saying is you kinda, speaking for Cedar, that know some people, it would be nice to know where they kinda land.
Right. What actually happened.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me, whatever you guys think.
Well,
I'm not saying it's gotta be him.
Put 4 on the list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put 4.
As well,
Let's put 4 on the list then.
there's 4 on the list.
We'll put Cedar on the list as well. Justin, you can do some research on that.
So Cedar.
Yep.
For Cedar?
Yep.
Whatever.
Barrientos,
Barrientos, Cedar, and
CUNY, CUNY and Wold.
Perfect.
Miss Clerk, would you please reflect that in the minutes?
Yes, I have it highlighted already.
As,
A
if she
recommendation.
could put it as consensus that, that the committee would like to invite them back. And then what would you like them to each give a more detailed PowerPoint presentation?
I think it's really gonna come down to a price war.
So,
Right.
do we wanna bring that to the entire board, or bring it back to us?
No, they can go to the entire board for that.
That's up to you guys, if you want,
I
if you
mean,
want to
if we
set.
wanted to eliminate it down a little bit more, yeah, tweak it a little bit more,
Yeah, I think we're putting it kinda ahead of course by throwing this to the board.
that would make for.
It's saying that it's on it is on the agenda to recommendations of the board.
The county board.
I mean, like 4 would be a lot for the board to
We don't even know what
consider, you know?
I don't know if that's true to send it to the board level yet.
Pardon?
I don't know if that's true to send it to the board level yet. We don't know everything yet. We don't have everything detailed out.
Well, no, what Ashley said was, should we possibly have them come back with a PowerPoint presentation?
Correct.
For like a
That would give
second.
us more information about them
Before we send it to
and the project before we make a decision. I wonder if we could try to get them back before the 18th, that's probably pushing it.
That's only a week away.
Yeah.
It's next Tuesday.
I know, right?
Yeah,
And you're like, today's
So that-
Wednesday,
we're
tomorrow's
pretty close.
Thursday and Friday, and it's deer hunting, and my wife's coming up, so I'm busy.
If you do want them for a second presentation with this committee instead of going right to the board, can you help me understand so I can explain to them what information this committee needs to help narrow it down more?
They're gonna present the same thing as they.
Right, and that's my concern, is that they would present the same thing to you guys, so do you have specific, I wanna know more about this, this, and this?
I don't,
Okay,
I thought they gave a pretty in-depth, with what we've got in our packet here, they've got a lot of information there. The only thing we don't have is calling references.
and they did put references in
They
there,
all
so
did.
Justin and I could kinda tag team that too. Cause I know they're gonna ask me, well, what different information do they want, so I need some guidance from you guys.
What's on the agenda? I need to know what's on the agenda for the Concord town. How heavy is it?
It's fairly heavy, the public hearing for the comp plan, all 5 of those resolutions, two resolutions from personnel, a resolution from finance, 2 closed sessions, both of which should be fairly quickly, go fairly quickly, but it's not the lightest
Starting
agenda.
at 6 o'clock.
It is starting at 6,
It's
yeah.
not your first time,
Well, I mean, all, like,
That's a 5-minute job.
a lot of the resolutions aren't
I don't care.
complex
Controversial.
or controversial, right, so I don't feel,
They shouldn't be, or
No.
aren't?
they are not. So if we're not getting, for instance, we're not getting funding for the animal shelter, we have to clean up our animal shelter ordinance.
Can I get that
That's not
minutes she
controversial.
said that, so when we get to that point in time?
No, I want you to do this.
Okay,
I don't have a problem either way, I guess, if you wanna send it to the board, if the.
Can't we trim it down from 4 down to 3 or even 2, and then have them give a presentation Tuesday night?
Board's gonna be too many to put on the plate.
So take one
I
more
agree,
out.
4 is too many,
Take one out.
so.
Start flipping a coin.
Start flipping coins.
I don't know, my concern is, I think the only one that has this, when you look at the range of prices here and everything, I'm not sure we're looking at apples versus apples. Yes, they were given the RFQ and all that stuff, but when you've got some that are double others, and then you see all these additional costs for this, additional costs for this, all overhead, none listed, additional costs, I'm not sure that these things are really comparable, that they're comparing apples to apples. I think we might have a fruit salad in here. That's just my concern, because how can you have double the same thing?
But we can't really do anything about that, it is what it is, what they propose.
Did I hear it wrong, but
Brandon,
didn't
Brandon,
Tony say that,
I thought this was.
6.2 was, that was it?
CUNY gave a range of 6.2 to like 6.9.
Yeah,
He had a low end and a high end. The low was like 6.2, high was 6.8, 9.
but that was all in, there was no additional to that,
Right.
if I understood what he said, yeah.
That's the way I understood it.
Yeah. But so, and I'm not sure about these other
I
ones,
think I wrote that down.
like, you know, on the list here, they've got, well, like, for example, the Cedar, they've got like 390,000. Is that above and beyond 7 mil, or is that?
That's based on 7 million, they were all set to base it on
It's
7
based on
million.
7 million, but I do recall Cedar being one of the few who mentioned that if we could get it built for under 7 or give you more for that amount, that's what they would be working for.
Yeah.
And they provided this alt, remember, so I didn't have this alt when I put the spreadsheet together for you guys, so this is really, if you wanna go with Cedar, this would be the updated costs.
Yeah.
That's
That's,
65.
okay, well, that Cedar was the 2 gentlemen that stood back there.
Yeah, the one fellow who presented who probably had stage fright. Yep.
Oh, that cold.
Yeah.
He was stage fright. But Cedars, additional costs for geotech, site survey, wetlands, DNR, DSP, fees up to 23,500. So again, that's why I'm concerned that this is not apples.
Well, they're the ones that gave this, Terry,
Yeah,
Right, but that doesn't,
and that brought their fee down to, if you add that up, it's 250,
it's about 300.
268.
It's about 300.
I think it's like 273.
It's
73.5.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to go with the lowest one.
No, because
Because
this, because of the size of the project, you guys can consider qualifications. You don't have to go with the lowest responsible bidder.
So are we gonna narrow it down to 2 and present it to the board?
I'll go with Cedar.
Cedar and Cooney? Everybody good with that?
I'll give it a thumbs up to them.
Cedar and Cooney?
Yeah. Jerry, you good with that?
To take Wold off,
Yeah. Take off Walden and figure it out.
Mary Anto's. Just.
Cedar and Cooney?
You need a motion? Mr. Chairman?
Probably, so we can officially.
So no consensus then.
I made the motion then that we have, Cooney Architects and the Cedar Corporation. come
I'll
and give-
second that motion.
Pardon?
I'll second your motion.
Present at the board.
To present at the board meeting on the 18th.
17.
17th, sorry.
You're gonna show them the 18th, right?
Maybe.
All in favor, or, excuse me, motion by Mr. Kudo, second by Mr. Coggins to send Cedar Court to the county board on December 17th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay,
Cooney and Cedar, right?
What?
Cooney and Cedar.
Yeah, okay, that's what they said, yeah.
That's done. Any announcements? Hold on.
It is.
It's like next meeting.
Well, that's just on
That's
there
just
if
on
you
there for
need it,
standing.
if you need it.
We'll approach that later then. Otherwise, motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Mr. Moore, is there a second? I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.